Hey guys, tonight we're sinking our teeth into something a little greasier, a little saltier, and honestly far more chaotic than anyone ever warned us about. The hidden, unfiltered, mildly suspicious world of McDonald's. Not the cheerful, golden-arched fantasy where everyone smiles and your fries are always perfectly crisp. No, we're diving into the real McDonald's, the one built on speed, questionable decisions, corporate drama, and a few historical moments that probably should have come with a "may cause emotional distress" warning label. So before we get comfortable, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. No pressure, I'm not Ronald McDonald. I can't bribe you with a Happy Meal toy, and thank you for suggesting this topic, by the way. It really does help shape these stories. If you feel like it, drop a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Somehow, no matter what, it's always 2 a.m. for somebody watching these. Now dim those lights, turn on a fan for that soft whooshing white noise, get cozy under a blanket and maybe keep your toes tucked in so the Hamburglar doesn't try to steal them. He's unpredictable. Let's pause for a second and ask the important questions you've never thought to ask about the world's most famous fast food empire. Like, who decided the ice cream machine should break more often than the average 90s marriage? Why do McNuggets come in shapes? Are we supposed to collect them? How did a clown become the global ambassador of burgers? Why does the drive-through speaker always sound like someone speaking to you from the afterlife? And truly, what's lurking in the corporate archives that McDonald's really doesn't want to talk about? Most importantly, could you survive life behind the counter in the early days of fast food? Could you handle the pressure, the grease, the customers who insist they didn't order onions even though the receipt literally says extra onion? And now, congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1955 inside the original McDonald's system. The grills are roaring, the air smells like hot pickles and panic, and Ray Kroc is already yelling at you, and you don't even know why yet. Good luck. You stand in the middle of the world's fastest kitchen, where burgers move more efficiently than most government offices. The McDonald brothers have turned cooking into choreography, and you're expected to glide between stations like a caffeinated ballet dancer with a spatula. No chit-chat, no creativity, just perfectly timed burger flips or eternal shame. The moment you step into the speedy system, you realise you're not in a kitchen. You're in a culinary factory line wearing an apron that feels like a uniform for a small burger-based cult. Everything here has been engineered, tested, refined, and then laminated onto a poster taped above your workstation. Burgers are not cooked. They are processed, moving from one pair of trembling hands to the next with all the grace of a well-oiled machine, assuming the machine hasn't had coffee in a week. Let's talk about the grill. It's not just hot, it radiates heat with the enthusiasm of a small nuclear reactor. You slap patties onto it with exact spacing 2 inches apart, no more, no less. If you place a patty even slightly off-grid, someone gently corrects you by shouting loudly enough to rattle the pickle jars. The patties sizzle in perfect synchrony, like a row of tiny, angry drum cymbals. And you're the conductor, except you're also sweating, panicking, and trying not to slip on a rogue pickle slice. Then comes the bun station. Here, precision is gospel. The buns are toasted exactly the same shade every time, lightly sun-kissed, as the brothers put it. If a bun edges into slightly tan territory, it is discarded like an untrustworthy witness. You lay them out like you're preparing for a religious ceremony, because honestly, in this kitchen, you are. Pickles, 2 per burger, not 1, not 3. 2, they're placed with the same solemnity as a jeweller setting diamonds. You drop the pickles with tweezers, okay? Not literally, but emotionally it feels like tweezers, ensuring each one is perfectly positioned for maximum crunch per bite efficiency. Ketchup and mustard follow in matching swirls, applied with a squeeze bottle that acts suspiciously like a paint gun for amateurs. There's a flow to everything, a rhythm, a pulse. You move from grill to bun to assembly like you're inside a human conveyor belt. The McDonald brothers hover nearby. clipboards in hand, watching you like proud but easily disappointed parents at a middle school talent show. Every motion you make is compared to the system, which they talk about like it's a fragile deity who must never be angered. And then you meet the fryer, a bubbling vat of golden oil that smells like temptation and regret. The fries drop in perfect batches, timed to the second. You shake the basket exactly 6 times, no more, no less, because apparently that's what creates the signature crispiness. You've never questioned the physics of French fries before, but now you find yourself whispering small apologies to them as you pull them from the oil. What strikes you most is how calm everyone seems. They're not cooking, they're operating. Every movement has been practiced to the point of muscle memory. It's like watching fast food monks perform sacred rituals in a temple of hamburger efficiency. And just when you start to think you're getting the hang of it, a supervisor walks by and asks why your patty placement is emotionally chaotic. You look down, one patty is slightly offline. You prepare to apologize to the entire kitchen. But here's the thing. In this world, success doesn't come from talent. It comes from consistency, predictability, repetition. The speedy system isn't glamorous, but it is revolutionary. You're inside the engine that will one day feed millions, and whether you like it or not, you're now part of the assembly line. Ray Kroc bursts into your life like an over-caffeinated tornado in horn-rimmed glasses. He talks fast, sells faster, and dreams even faster than that. You don't know it yet, but this man is about to turn your quiet burger stand into a global behemoth, and he's going to micromanage every inch of your soul along the way. At first, you don't even see him enter. You feel him. A sudden tightening in the air, a shift in the atmosphere, like someone just opened a door and let in a gust of pure entrepreneurial pressure. Then you hear the click of polished shoes moving at a pace that suggests either unshakable ambition or a bathroom emergency. And finally Ray appears, clipboard in hand, tie slightly askew, eyes blazing with the intensity of someone who truly believes your burger flipping technique is the difference between success and societal collapse. He shakes your hand with a grip that could crush walnuts. "We're going to change the world," he says, and you get the sense he means it. You also get the sense he wants you to stop breathing so loudly, because it might disrupt the efficiency metrics he's calculating in his mind. Ray walks through the kitchen like a general inspecting troops he doesn't fully trust. He stops at your station and watches you salt fries, not judging, just analysing, which is far worse. He makes notes. He times you with a pocket watch. He mumbles things like potential throughput and scalability of crispness. You've never been this stressed while holding a salt shaker in your life. And then he starts reorganizing. He moves the napkin dispenser exactly 2 inches to the right. He adjusts the angle of the spatula in your hand, yes, the angle. He labels shelves that were already clearly labelled. He tells the McDonald brothers that the ketchup pump is emotionally inefficient, whatever that means. And somehow, in under 10 minutes, he has redrawn the workflow of the kitchen like a man possessed. Let's be fair though, Ray isn't wrong. The guy has a point. He sees things no one else sees. You watch him examine the speedy system with the awe of a man witnessing prophecy. He asks questions that make you wonder if you've ever truly understood burgers at all. What if you could replicate this exact kitchen everywhere, he whispers, and you swear he says it like he's pitching humanity's next major religion. But Ray's enthusiasm comes with side effects. For one, sleep is no longer part of your life. Ray calls meetings at dawn. He calls them again at lunchtime. He calls them again at closing. You think the meetings are over, but no, there's a final meeting to discuss the efficiency of the previous meetings. Ray Kroc does not rest. Ray Kroc simply powers down like a laptop that refuses to fully shut off. He demands consistency, speed, quality. He wants every pickle placed in the same exact location on every bun across America. He wants fries that stand tall, straight, uniform, like tiny potato soldiers. You admire the passion, but also you begin to suspect he may actually dream in blueprint form. Still, there's something mesmerizing about his ambition. You watch this man, this relentless salesman who once peddled milkshake machines, convince the McDonald brothers that the future of dining is fast, standardized, and politely wrapped in paper. He talks about franchises like he invented the concept. He talks about customers like they're ticking time bombs of hunger waiting to be activated. And somehow, deep down, you know he's right. Ray Kroc transforms your little burger counter into the beating heart of a future empire, and all you can do is hold on, breathe, and try not to stand in the way of the tornado. Because this tornado wears a suit, carries a clipboard, and has absolutely no intention of slowing down until the entire world smells faintly of French fries. Welcome to the grill, where the burgers sizzle, the customers scream, and the managers yell like you're training for the fast food Olympics. Every second counts. Let a patty cook 2 seconds too long, and Ray Kroc materializes behind you like a disappointed ghost. The first thing you learn on the original McDonald's line is that this kitchen isn't a workplace. It's a battlefield disguised in tile flooring and stainless steel. The grill hisses at you like it's personally offended by your presence. The spatulas clatter. The fryers roar like medieval cauldrons. Everything smells faintly of onions, ambition, and the slow erosion of your sanity. There's no chatting, no leaning, no, hey, how was your weekend? Because there is no weekend. There is only the system. The sacred laminated commandments taped to every surface, telling you how many patties to drop, how many seconds to wait, which direction to flip, and how much enthusiasm you're legally allowed to show on the clock, which is very little. You develop a new kind of reflex, the McDonald's line flinch. It's what happens when someone shouts, "Order up!" and your entire nervous system compresses into a single vibrating molecule. You spin, you grab, you assemble, you pray the ketchup bottle doesn't malfunction and spray the wall like a crime scene. Let's talk about the customers. They arrive in waves, massive, unstoppable waves, like you're reenacting a culinary version of D-Day. The moment you finish one order, 3 more materialize, each more complicated than the last. Someone wants extra pickles, someone wants no pickles, someone wants the burger that guy ordered last week. A child stares at you, just stares, with the intensity of someone trying to telepathically request a milkshake. Meanwhile, the managers hover like anxious storm clouds, clipboard in hand, brows furrowed. They shout numbers you don't fully understand but respond to anyway, because everything here is Pavlovian. Time to shelf? 20-second window. Where's the bun guy? You begin to suspect the bun guy escaped. But the true villain, the final boss of the McDonald's line, is timing. Timing is everything. Timing is your god now. You're juggling patties, assembling buns, and rotating fry baskets with the precision of a neurosurgeon who somehow ended up in fast food. You listen for the sacred beeps. The grill beep, the fryer beep, the toaster beep, the Ray Kroc approaching beep that you swear you can hear in your soul. Your hands move so fast they blur. You grab patties with the confidence of a seasoned warrior. You stack burgers with a flourish you didn't know you had. You slap on buns like you're sealing ancient scrolls. And as you do all this, your brain plays quiet commentary. Don't drop this. Don't burn that. Don't let that customer see your existential crisis. Then there's the heat. The kitchen isn't warm, it's sweltering, melting, oven-level hot. Your face glistens like a Christmas ham. Your uniform clings to your back like it's trying to escape. Every breath tastes vaguely of salt and steam. You wonder if this is what saunas feel like, except saunas don't have Ray Kroc evaluating your burger architecture. But here's the thing, somewhere between the panic, the sweat, and the 6th shouted order for fries, something strange happens. You find a rhythm, a groove, A moment where your motions sync perfectly with the kitchen around you. You drop patties without looking. You know exactly when to flip. You assemble burgers with quiet confidence. You're not surviving the line, you're owning it. And then, just as you begin to feel proud, the burger drawer runs empty. The fry timer shrieks. A manager yells, "We're out of onions!" A customer demands a refund because their hamburger looks hamburgery. And Ray Kroc walks by, glancing at your workstation with an expression that suggests you've personally let down the American dream. Life on the original McDonald's line is chaos. Pure, unfiltered, grease-scented chaos. But somehow, through the yelling, the sweat, and the constant threat of a perfectly timed meltdown, you keep going. Because in this kitchen, you're not just making food, you're feeding the beginnings of a fast food empire. You approach the ice cream machine with caution, as if it's a sleeping dragon. It wheezes, groans, spits, and then immediately malfunctions. You don't understand how a device invented specifically to dispense cold treats can also double as a full-time emotional support burden. The machine stands there in the corner of the kitchen like an ancient relic. Not majestic, not respected, just feared. Even the managers give it a wide berth, walking past it the way you'd walk past a raccoon in your driveway. Slowly, respectfully, and while pretending you definitely aren't terrified. Someone once told you the machine was new in 1955, but based on its rattling frame and the way it emits a faint electrical smell, you're convinced it predates electricity. It has moods, this machine. Some days it hums contentedly, churning soft serve like a happy little dairy cloud. Other days it sputters like it's coughing up its regrets. And then there are the days, most days, when it simply refuses to work altogether, blinking its tiny red error light with the passive aggression of a cat refusing to come when called. The worst part? People love ice cream. Customers want milkshakes, cones, sundaes, and that weird half-melted swirl that only McDonald's machines seem capable of producing. And every time the machine breaks, which is always, you're the one who has to tell them. You stand at the counter, ready to deliver the bad news like a doctor gently informing someone that their favourite goldfish didn't make it through surgery. The ice cream machine isn't working today, you say. It never works today. Today is its natural state. And customers react with every emotion in the human spectrum. Disbelief, rage, bargaining, existential dread. One kid once cried so hard you considered offering him a McNugget as emotional compensation. In the back, your co-workers attempt repairs with the desperation of mechanics trying to reboot a spaceship using duct tape. The manual is thick enough to be considered medieval literature, filled with diagrams that may or may not be upside down. The instructions require an engineering degree, a minor in astrophysics, and perhaps a séance. You watch someone stick their entire arm inside the freezer chamber, like a volunteer in a magic trick they didn't sign up for. Another person taps it with the end of a spatula, as if hoping for divine intervention. Someone else suggests unplugging it and plugging it back in, the universal fix for all broken technology. But even that feels too optimistic. Let's talk about cleaning cycles. Because if there's one thing ice cream machines love, it's entering a mandatory 8-hour self-cleaning ritual right when you need it most. Breakfast rush, cleaning cycle. Dinner rush, cleaning cycle. A bus of 15 children pulls into the parking lot, cleaning cycle. You start to wonder if the machine has union protections. Its internal components are mysterious. The tubes twist around like intestines. The churner clanks ominously. And the mixture bags, heavy, squishy, suspiciously warm, hang inside the chamber like dairy IV bags. You try not to think about the fact that you're expected to operate a device that sounds like it's chewing gravel. And yet, Despite all this chaos, customers remain convinced the ice cream machine is a mythic fountain of delight that should always be ready at a moment's notice. You begin to question reality. Are you the problem? Are they the problem? Or is the machine itself a cryptid, living among us but never truly understood? In time, you develop a kind of fondness for it. Not affection, more like the bond hostages form with their captor. You pat its metal side. You whisper encouragement. You silently beg it to please, just this once. Work long enough to make one milkshake without exploding. Most days it refuses, but on those rare magical mornings when it roars to life and actually dispenses soft serve, it feels like witnessing a miracle. A cold, creamy blessing from a machine that mostly brings misery. And for a moment, for a brief, beautiful second, you believe anything is possible. The fry station hits you with heat that rivals the sun's surface. Oil crackles, timers beep like panicked Morse code, and the salt, it gets everywhere, on your hands, in your hair, and possibly in your will to live. But oh, when they're perfect, they're divine. You weren't prepared for this station. No one is. They tell you it's just frying potatoes, but that's a lie. The fry station is a crucible of fire, chaos, and self-discovery. A place where you meet parts of yourself you didn't know existed, like the inner voice that screams every time you drop a basket too quickly, and hot oil leaps out like it's trying to tattoo you. Your tools are simple. A metal basket, a stainless steel scoop, and a mountain of pre-cut frozen fries that clatter like tiny icicles. But don't underestimate them. These little sticks of potato carry the entire emotional weight of McDonald's customers worldwide. If the fries are bad, everything is bad. You could hand them the most perfect burger known to mankind, but if the fries are limp, you might as well prepare for public execution. You grab a basket and dump in a fresh load of frozen fries. The oil reacts instantly, hissing, bubbling, roaring, like you've summoned a demon. The smell hits you. Hot, salty, nostalgic, and slightly terrifying. You lower the basket with the trembling reverence of someone handling radioactive material. The fryer responds with a full-body sizzle, and suddenly you're sweating. Not glistening sweating, like you're trapped in a sauna run by angry potatoes. Then comes the timer. That little box becomes your entire life. It counts down the seconds with the same urgency as a bomb timer in an action movie. Every beep vibrates through your skull. You stare at it, waiting, knowing that a single second too long means burnt fries, a crime punishable by an unimpressed Ray Kroc sigh. When the timer finally shrieks, you snap into action. You pull the basket up, shaking it exactly as trained. 3 vigorous shakes, then one gentle jostle to release any lingering oil. Too few shakes and customers get soggy fries. Too many and the fries become emotional support toothpicks. The balance is delicate, like seasoning a soup or maintaining a fragile friendship. Now comes salting, the most sacred ritual in the fry religion. You turn to the salt bin, which is always, slightly overfilled. Salt pours like you've angered Poseidon. You grab the shaker and perform that iconic sweeping motion. One fluid arc across the golden pile, a flick of the wrist, and another blessed sprinkle. In this moment you are a culinary wizard casting spells made of sodium, but the fry station is not without tragedy. Sometimes you oversalt and spend the next 10 minutes picking up individual grains of salt like you're cleaning diamonds. Sometimes you undersalt and are forced to retoss the fries while praying no one notices your shame. And sometimes, despite your best efforts, a fry leaps over the edge and lands on the floor, a tiny fallen soldier you cannot save. Then comes the rush. 5 orders of large fries, 3 mediums, 2 combos, and 1 customer who wants the freshest fries you have, but also fast. You scoop with the frantic energy of someone trying to bail water out of a sinking ship. Fries spill everywhere. Oil pops like it's applauding your panic. The timers beep in overlapping rhythms like an avant-garde percussion concert. You look over your shoulder and see your co-workers watching with sympathetic eyes. They know. They've been here. They've survived the free station wars, and yet there's beauty here. When the fries come out perfectly, crispy edges, soft centers, golden as dawn, you feel a strange, peaceful pride. These fries aren't just food. They're comfort, joy, therapy in a cardboard sleeve. And as you hand a fresh batch to a grateful customer, you realize something important. The fry station may break your spirit, scorch your arms, and salt your hair. But when those fries hit just right, you understand why people keep coming back. You discover that McNuggets come in 4 shapes: boot, bell, ball, and bone. And somehow that's the least confusing part. You begin to question whether you're working in fast food or participating in a bizarre culinary Pokemon game. Your first encounter with the shapes feels like stumbling into secret lore. The manager opens a frozen bag of nuggets, pours them onto a tray and casually says, "Make sure you scatter them evenly so the boots don't all clump together." You blink. Boots? Clumping? You stare down and suddenly notice it. The shape taxonomy. There are boots, and bells, and little round nubbins that look like meat marbles. And then there's the bone, which resembled nothing you'd ever want near a skeleton, much less near your lunch. And these shapes aren't random. Oh no, they're engineered. Corporate insists the variety helps with even cooking. You're not sure if that's true or if someone in a boardroom simply got bored during a meeting in 1979 and said, "What if nuggets had personalities?" You learn quickly that each shape has its own vibe. The boot is sturdy, reliable. It has a little handle-like curve that kids love to dip. The bell is elegant, vaguely formal, like it should be worn with a bow tie. The ball is chaotic neutral, round, unpredictable, a free spirit in nugget form. And the bone is the odd one out. The nugget equivalent of a conspiracy theorist who attends town meetings uninvited. As the tray slides into the fryer, you watch them fall into the bubbling oil like soldiers parachuting into battle. You swear the boots hit the oil with more confidence. The balls roll around like they're trying to escape. The bells sit neatly, waiting patiently to transform into crispy golden joy. Then comes the most fascinating part, the flipping ritual. Using tongs, you gently turn each nugget halfway through cooking, and it feels like you're tending to a brood of tiny edible offspring. And of course, Ray Kroc would absolutely expect you to flip them consistently, shapes facing the same direction, evenly spaced, aligned like a tiny nugget marching band. But the confusion truly begins when customers ask questions. What shape are these? Is the boot the tastiest one? Do you have any of the round ones left? Do they taste different based on the shape? You want to tell them no, of course not, they all taste exactly the same. But then, after several hours of McNugget exposure, you begin doubting yourself. Do they taste different? Has the boot been the superior nugget all along? Why does the bone feel so emotionally unstable? You dip each one in sauce as a test, nodding thoughtfully like a sommelier analysing wine notes. Let's talk sauces, because sauces are the McNugget's soulmate. Barbecue, sweet and sour, honey mustard, the trinity of dipping enlightenment. You start to notice that customers have strong opinions. Some dip boot only in ranch, others only trust the bell with honey mustard. Children will fight loudly over the last ball-shaped nugget, because apparently it tastes happier. Meanwhile, the fryer beeps. Another batch is ready. You pull up the basket and watch steam billow out like you're opening a portal to a crispy alternate dimension. The nuggets glisten as the excess oil drips away, revealing their distinct silhouettes. And suddenly, You understand why people care, why they argue, why they cherish the shapes like beloved collectible figurines. The shapes give nuggets character in a world that otherwise moves too fast. For most people, life is chaotic, unpredictable, and stressful, but a nugget shaped like a tiny boot? That's comforting. That's grounding. That's something you can rely on. As you pack the nuggets into their tidy cardboard boxes, you arrange them with care. A bell for balance, a boot for strength, a ball for whimsy, a bone because life is imperfect and sometimes you get the weird one. And when you hand the box to a delighted customer, you realize something profound. McNuggets may be goofy, strangely shaped, and born from a deep fryer, but in a fast food universe full of chaos, they're the closest thing to order you'll ever get. A smiling clown in yellow jumpsuit starts showing up everywhere. Posters, TV, children's dreams. You slowly realize you're witnessing the birth of one of the most unsettling mascots in existence, and he's somehow becoming the face of capitalism. Your first encounter with him happens on a slow morning shift. You're restocking napkins when you glance up and nearly leap out of your skin. There he is, tall, bright, aggressively cheerful Ronald McDonald staring at you from a glossy poster with a grin so wide it looks like it's violating at least 3 labor laws. He's new, he's bold, he's confusing. Management insists he's the future. Kids love clowns, they say confidently, as if kids everywhere haven't been instinctively terrified of painted adults since the dawn of time. But corporate pushes forward, plastering Ronald's face across every marketing surface available. Posters, pamphlets, commercials. If there's room for a pair of oversized red shoes, Ronald is there. Before long, Ronald becomes a full-blown phenomenon. Television ads show him bounding through scenes with an energy that suggests he has either supernatural powers or an unhealthy relationship with caffeine. Children scream when they see him, but in a good way. Mostly. You're never entirely sure. Let's talk about his outfit. The yellow jumpsuit is loud enough to cause migraines at 20 paces, and the red and white striped sleeves make him look like a circus escapee. His hair is a bright, fiery red that could double as a traffic warning, and yet somehow he becomes royalty. Corporate royalty. The king of burgers. The monarch of marketing. Parents accept him. Children adore him. Teenagers pretend not to, but deep down they respect the hustle of a clown, managing to stay relevant through multiple decades of fashion disasters. Ronald becomes the symbol of fun, food, and the unspoken promise that if you're good today, maybe, just maybe, you'll get a happy meal. But working at McDonald's during Ronald's rise means you're exposed to him constantly. His poster eyes follow you. His cardboard cutouts lurk around corners. He pops up in training videos with the enthusiastic energy of a motivational speaker who's been paid entirely in French fries. Sometimes you turn a corner in the back storage room and unexpectedly meet life-sized Ronald leaning against the mop bucket like he's waiting to offer you questionable advice. What really cements his legend, though, is the live mascot program. Occasionally, McDonald's hires actors to play Ronald in person. The real Ronald, as kids say, with reverence usually reserved for saints or celebrity chefs. And when that giant clown suit steps through your restaurant's door, all hell breaks loose. Children lose their minds. Some run toward him with joyful abandon. Others hide behind their parents, peeking out with a cautious suspicion normally reserved for predatory wildlife. Ronald waves. Dances, poses for pictures, and occasionally knocks his head on a light fixture because the suit is not designed with spatial awareness in mind. You watch the scene unfold from behind the counter, marveling at how a grown adult dressed like a Crayola explosion has become more influential than most world leaders. The clown waves at you too, because apparently Ronald must acknowledge all employees with the same benevolence he gives children. You wave back. You must. It's in the handbook. And yet, beneath the absurdity, something strangely comforting emerges. Ronald represents joy, or at least the attempt at joy, in a world increasingly defined by hustle, exhaustion, and the looming spectre of Ray Kroc's perfectionism. Ronald doesn't care about fry timers or burger alignment. Ronald just wants you to smile, or maybe scream. Either reaction is fine. As the years pass, Ronald evolves. Mascot redesigns come and go, but the clown remains, eternal, unshaken, a brightly coloured constant in the ever-expanding universe of fast food. He's not just a mascot anymore. He's an empire builder, a global ambassador, a strangely omnipresent reminder that capitalism can put a red nose on anything and call it delightful. And whether you love him, fear him, or fall somewhere in the middle, one truth remains. Ronald McDonald isn't just part of the brand. He is the brand. And you, standing behind the counter, have a front row seat to the moment a clown becomes king. You put on a headset and prepare for verbal battle. Customers mumble, engines roar, someone orders a cheeseburger without cheese. Another asks for that thing I got last time, and you begin to understand why the drive-through speaker is shaped like a confession booth. The moment the headset settles over your ears, you feel a shift in reality, like slipping into another dimension where language is optional and patience is a survival skill. You hear static first, then the soft rumble of an idling engine, and finally a voice so distorted it sounds like someone speaking through a pillow in a tornado. "Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?" you say, hoping for something simple. What you get is a sound resembling for extra pickles. You stare at the speaker box, wondering if it needs an exorcism. You repeat what you think you heard. The customer sighs dramatically, as if you're the one mumbling into a metal pole from inside a vibrating car. And that is how your shift begins. Drive-through language is its own dialect. Customers speak in half-thoughts and emotional hints. Some trail off mid-sentence. Some order while arguing with their kids. Others are clearly on speakerphone, conducting their personal business at full volume, while you wait politely to hear if they want fries. Then there's the multitaskers. The people paying bills, eating chips, holding a dog and conducting a phone interview all while trying to order a McDouble. You hear the crunching. You hear the barking. You hear the panic in their voice when they realise they're already at the window and haven't paid attention since the menu board. Of course, the real villain here is the drive-through speaker itself. This thing is an audio relic from the Cold War era. Whatever technology powers it is older than humanity's understanding of clear communication. It flattens voices, distorts pitches, and occasionally turns the sound of a simple hi into something that feels like a cryptic war prophecy. And yet, you stay calm, because the drive-through is all about tone. Soothing tone, reassuring tone, the kind of tone you'd use with someone trying to defuse a bomb while blindfolded. You repeat orders slowly, politely, firmly. Just to confirm you wanted a cheeseburger with no cheese? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no. Sometimes they say, "I never said that," even though the entire kitchen staff can testify otherwise. Then comes the payment window, where chaos takes physical form. Cars pull up at strange angles. People hand you coins covered in mysterious pocket lint. Someone drops their wallet between their seat and the door, trapping themselves in a financial limbo. You stand there, arm extended, smiling reassuringly into the void. But nothing compares to pickup, the final stage of the drive-through gauntlet. This is where customers suddenly remember they wanted ketchup, or extra napkins, or the sauce that your brain absolutely cannot find a button for under pressure. One person hands you their entire toddler to hold, while they rearrange their cup holders. Another decides this is the moment to ask about the ingredients in every menu item that has ever existed. Still, the rhythm of the drive-through begins to make sense over time. Beep, order, confirm, swipe, bag, smile, repeat. You learn to predict which cars will be easy, usually the quiet ones, and which will be difficult, usually the ones blasting music loud enough to shake the windows. You also learn the sacred truth. Every drive-through has that one regular. The customer who arrives every day orders the same thing and still refuses to speak above a whisper. You memorize their order like scripture because understanding them through the speaker feels like solving a linguistic puzzle. But despite the chaos, the drive-through has its own weird charm. The headset disconnects you from the world just enough to make every interaction feel surreal and slightly dreamlike. You're a floating voice, guiding hungry travelers through the ritual of ordering food. And when the line moves smoothly, rare but glorious, you feel like a conductor, orchestrating a symphony of engines and fries. By the time you remove the headset, your ears buzz, your brain is mush, and you've repeated the phrase, "Would you like sauce?" more times than your own name. But there's a quiet victory in surviving the drive-through, a strength, a resilience, because if you can make sense of whispered orders, screaming engines, and mumbled confessions delivered through a static-filled speaker box, you can survive anything this fast food universe throws at you. The grill is covered in a layer of grease so thick it could qualify as a geological era. You're handed a scraper, a rag, and a silent prayer. Every swipe sends up steam that smells like 1950s ambition and burnt onions. You stare at the grill the way a knight might stare at a dragon, with respect, fear, and the sinking realization that you are wildly underprepared. The surface is a shimmering mosaic of crusted beef remnants, charred bun flakes, and something that looks suspiciously like fossilized cheese. It glistens under the fluorescent lights like a warning. Don't get too close unless your affairs are in order. Your manager gives you a nod that says, "This builds character," which is easy for him to say because he's not the one holding the industrial strength scraper that looks like it belongs in a medieval torture chamber. You approach carefully, boots squeaking, apron trembling, and begin the ritual. The first scrape is always the worst. The hardened grease clings to the grill like it has paid rent. It resists, stubborn and proud, hissing angrily as you pry it up. The sound is haunting, a metallic shriek that suggests you're peeling back the layers of history itself. Tiny flecks of burnt meat fly upward, landing on your face like a grotesque confetti shower. Then comes the steam. Oh, the steam! A billowing, fragrant cloud that rises with every drag of the scraper. It smells like sweat, dreams, and burger-related regrets. It envelops you completely, fogging your glasses, stinging your eyes, and making you wonder if this is what it feels like to be slow-cooked. But the grill is only part one of your suffering. Next comes the grease trough, a horrifying canal filled with liquefied burger runoff, stray onion bits, and the discarded hopes of every employee who came before you. You tilt the grill forward, letting the molten mixture ooze downward in a thick, syrupy cascade that looks like it should come with a caution label. You can feel it sloshing as you walk it to the disposal bin, praying you don't spill a single drop, because that would instantly qualify as a workplace tragedy. And just when you think you've made progress, the manager appears behind you with a bottle of industrial degreaser, something so strong it could probably dissolve a small vehicle. "Spray generously," he says, which is alarming because the bottle clearly warns against skin contact, eye contact, and existential contact. You spray anyway, watching as the chemicals fizz and bubble like a villainous potion. Suddenly the grill turns into a chemistry experiment gone rogue. Foam spreads across the surface, lifting gunk you didn't even know existed. You wipe. One scrub, wipe again, each motion accompanied by the gentle cracking of your spirit. The rag becomes a soggy, unrecognizable mess. Your arms ache. Your back protests. You begin bargaining with higher powers. Then comes the part no one warns you about. The splash zone. As you rinse the grill, droplets leap upward like they're performing a coordinated attack. They land on your sleeves, your cheeks, and sometimes directly in your soul. You smell like a mixture of burnt onions and desperation. But slowly, miraculously, the grill begins to shine. The blackened build-up fades. The sticky patches surrender. You start to see actual metal, smooth and silver, hiding beneath the wreckage of 1,000 burgers past. It's like discovering buried treasure, except the treasure is a surface that won't cause a small fire. Finally, you turn off the water, toss the rag into the laundry bin with a kind of dramatic flair usually reserved for movie scenes, and look upon your work. The grill gleams, the steam clears, and for a brief, transcendent moment, you feel like you've conquered something important, not just a piece of machinery, but a rite of passage. Cleaning the grill isn't glamorous, it isn't fun, it isn't even remotely safe for your mental well-being. But when the next shift arrives and fires it up, those first golden patties sizzling on a spotless surface, that's when you know it was worth it. Well, maybe. You're forced to watch training films where everyone smiles like they're being held hostage by customer service. The music is too upbeat, the acting too enthusiastic, and you begin to suspect the true horror of McDonald's is hidden in its VHS archives. The lights dim, the TV cart squeaks into place, and suddenly you're transported into a parallel universe. A place where hamburgers solve all emotional problems, and every employee behaves like they've taken a vow to express relentless positivity. The screen flickers, and a narrator with a suspiciously cheerful tone informs you that you're about to become part of the McFamily, which immediately raises questions about inheritance and whether you'll ever be allowed to leave. The film begins with a jingle, one that feels engineered in a lab to burrow into your brain and never leave. Within seconds, you're humming along against your will, like a sleeper agent activated by marketing. Then, the actors appear. Young, bright-eyed, perfectly groomed employees who greet each other with sitcom-level enthusiasm. They hand off burgers like they're performing Olympic baton exchanges, gliding effortlessly through a dining room that sparkles with the suspicious shine of a freshly staged set. In the first scene, a smiling teenager explains the proper way to hold a spatula. The level of excitement he displays suggests he's either won the lottery or recently been brainwashed. He emphasizes wrist technique with the confidence of a man giving a TED talk. You glance around the room to see if anyone else finds this alarming. They do, but everyone is too sleep-deprived to comment. Then comes the safety montage. A woman wearing an apron the colour of mustard warns you about the dangers of slippery floors. Her smile never falters, even as she demonstrates a fall so dramatic it belongs in a soap opera. The video cuts to a cartoon fry basket with googly eyes, reminding you to watch out for hot oil. You stare, wondering who approved this, and more importantly, why. But the oddest part is how calm everyone is. No one sweats, no one drops a bun, no one burns themselves on a fryer or accidentally salts a customer's drink. Every scene feels like a sanitized fantasy where nothing ever goes wrong, and corporate oversight is a warm, comforting blanket rather than the looming spectre it actually is. The videos go on and on and on. There's a segment on cleaning where a man with unnervingly white teeth shows you how to wipe a counter in slow, graceful strokes, like he's courting the surface. Another video demonstrates teamwork with all the subtlety of a school assembly play. Employees hold hands, chant slogans, and high-five so aggressively you fear someone may dislocate a shoulder. Then comes the pièce de résistance, the customer service module. Here, an actress portraying Mrs. Thompson approaches the counter with an order so complicated it would make a philosopher question free will. Yet the employee smiles at her with the serene calm of someone who has transcended earthly stress. He nods empathetically, offers solutions, and somehow manages to upsell her fries while maintaining perfect eye contact. Meanwhile, you know that in real life, someone like Mrs. Thompson would already be demanding to speak to a manager. Throughout the film, the background music never stops. It loops endlessly, a chime-heavy, overly optimistic melody that feels designed to hypnotize you into compliance. You begin to worry that if you hear the phrase quality, service, cleanliness one more time, you may astral project. By the time the credits roll, your brain feels slightly buttered, like popcorn that's been left under a heat lamp too long. The narrator thanks you for your dedication. The actors wave one final unsettling wave. The screen fades to black. As the lights come back on, your manager asks if you have any questions. You do. Many. Most cannot be spoken aloud. Instead, you nod silently, still hearing the jingle echoing through the chambers of your mind. And as you return to your shift, spatula in hand, you suddenly understand the truth. McDonald's doesn't train you with knowledge. It trains you with vibes. And those vibes are now permanently installed in your brain, right next to your childhood memories. The cleaning checklist is longer than the Magna Carta. Every surface must sparkle. Every floor must gleam. You mop until your arms ache, then mop again because someone walked through the wet spot like they were reenacting a medieval insult. The deeper you get into the cleaning routine, the more you realize McDonald's didn't build an empire on burgers alone. No, it was built on an unrelenting devotion to disinfecting everything that has ever existed. You stand in the supply room surrounded by industrial-strength cleaning chemicals, each one sporting enough warning labels to suggest they were invented by disgruntled alchemists. Your manager hands you a laminated checklist the size of a legal document. The categories are daunting: counters, grills, floors, drains, handles, windows, trays, condiment pumps, the mysterious sticky spot near the soda machine that never fully goes away. You wonder if the Magna Carta might have actually been shorter and slightly less oppressive. First, you grab the mop, your reluctant companion for the evening. It's heavy, damp, and smells faintly of bleach and despair. You dip it into a bucket filled with a cleaning solution so strong it could probably dissolve your taxes if given the chance. Then you begin the long rhythmic journey up and down the tile floor. Swish, lift, swish, lift. It's a strange kind of meditation, if meditation came with lower back pain. Just when you finish a perfect glossy shine from corner to corner, a customer wanders in from the dining room, dragging half a salad of footprints directly across your masterpiece. You stare at the muddy streaks with quiet devastation. They don't mean to hurt you, it's just fate. You mop again. Next comes the surfaces. Tables, counters, sneeze guards, and those small ledges no human has ever intentionally touched, but which somehow always accumulate grease. You spray each area with disinfectant, which fills the air with a sharp, citrus smell that may or may not be burning a new chamber in your lungs. You wipe in small circles, just like the training videos taught you, except with significantly less smiling. Then it's onto the fry station, the land of eternal oil mist. Everything within 6 feet of the fryers has a thin, tacky film on it, as if the air here is made of microscopic French fry residue. You scrub the metal walls with such intensity that you begin to wonder whether you're trying to clean away the decade. You rinse, you wipe, you step back, and you swear the grease reforms instantly, like it's regenerating. The condiment area is another battlefield. Ketchup pumps that leak crimson trails like tiny edible crime scenes. Mustard stains that defy the laws of chemistry. Salt shakers that leak aggressively, as if protesting their existence. You disassemble, clean, and reassemble everything with the care of someone performing microsurgery, only to discover sticky fingerprints still appear out of thin air. Then comes the soda machine, an eldritch contraption whose internal tubes and syrup nozzles could haunt your dreams. You press buttons, detach parts, soak pieces in hot water, and pray nothing explodes. The nozzles drip cola onto your hands, leaving them coated in a film of sugary residue that could trap dust for the next decade. Your final trial is the trash. The bags are heavy, warm, and oddly shaped, like they contain the emotional baggage of the entire dinner rush. You drag them out to the dumpster, hoping not to spill anything, because once something leaks from these bags, it becomes a permanent part of the landscape. But despite the exhaustion, something strange begins to happen. As the restaurant transforms from chaotic battlefield to gleaming temple of cleanliness, a sense of quiet satisfaction settles over you. The lights reflect off spotless tiles. The air smells like a citrus grove sponsored by bleach. The machines gleam with the smugness of being temporarily free of grease. You may be tired, you may be sore, you may feel like you've aged a decade in one shift, but as you stand there, hands on your hips, surveying the sanitized kingdom you've restored, you realize this. In a world full of chaos, noise, and spilled milkshakes, cleanliness might not be next to godliness, but it's the closest thing fast food has. You approach the cash register like it's a puzzle designed by an ancient curse. Customers hand you coins that jingled in their pockets since the Depression. Someone tries to pay in coupons from 2 states away. Your brain melts slightly. The register stands before you like a relic from a bygone age, big, boxy, humming faintly, and filled with buttons that appear to be arranged in a pattern, readable only to cryptographers. Your manager insists it's simple. Just press the total, collect the money, and make change, he says, blissfully unaware that your relationship with math has always been shaky at best. You swallow hard and prepare to face the beast. The first customer steps up. "Hi, can I get 2 burgers, 1 fry, and a Coke?" They say it casually, like they aren't throwing you into arithmetic combat. You type in each item. The register responds with a cheerful beep, as if mocking your rising anxiety. The total appears on the screen. Good, simple, manageable. Then they hand you coins. So many coins. A fistful of mismatched metal tokens, pennies rubbed smooth with age, a nickel from in 1843, 2 Canadian quarters, and something that might be a subway token. You stare down, blinking slowly, mentally preparing to calculate an amount that feels more like a math exam than a lunch transaction. You begin counting. 1 quarter, 2 dimes, a penny, another penny, a penny that feels morally wrong to accept, a coin you decide not to question. You announce the change confidently, hoping you didn't just shortchange them by $1 or accidentally give them free fries. But then a new challenger approaches, the coupon customer. They slide a wrinkled coupon across the counter like they're presenting a royal decree. You read it. It expired during the Nixon administration. The state listed on it doesn't touch your state. It specifies terms that no longer exist. But the customer smiles hopefully, as if these technicalities are mere trifles. "I found it in my glove compartment," they say proudly. You smile back because your soul has left your body and is hovering overhead, observing the situation like a concerned guardian. You politely explain that the coupon is invalid. They sigh heavily, as if you personally dismantled the American dream. You move on. The next customer pays with a crisp 20. Your relief is immediate. You give them their change, but they inspect each bill with the scrutiny of someone evaluating fine art. They hold it up to the light, they crease it, they sniff it. Finally they nod, tuck it into their wallet and leave. You breathe again. But the register isn't done with you. Oh no. It has special functions, buttons that terrify you. Void, refund, subtotal, tax override, manager needed. You avoid them like forbidden spells. You cling to the basics and pray no one asks for anything requiring advanced register sorcery. Then there's the pressure of the line. People queue up, tapping their feet, sighing, staring at the menu like they haven't seen it every day of their lives. The register beeps impatiently. Your palms sweat. Your brain fizzles. Someone asks, "Can you split the payment between 3 cards and $5? Cash. You consider fleeing the country. But slowly, remarkably, you begin to adapt. You stop fearing the buttons. You learn shortcuts. You memorize combo numbers. You start noticing patterns in the chaos. Exact change customers become your heroes. You greet them like old friends. You beam when someone hands you perfect currency without requiring Coinbase guesswork. You start making change faster, cleaner, smoother. You develop a rhythm, take the order, press the keys, flip the drawer, count the bills, smile, and move to the next. The register isn't your enemy anymore. It's a tool, a partner in the daily dance of fast food. And one day, without warning, a customer hands you a handful of coins and asks, "Is this enough?" You glance down. You know instantly. You count it in 2 seconds. You hand back the correct change. You thank them with a calm, collected voice. And that's when you realize something profound. You didn't master the register. You survived it. Which in this universe of burgers and beeps is just as impressive. You crack eggs onto a sizzling grill and watch them cook into perfectly uniform shapes like edible geometry lessons. Breakfast rush hits, and suddenly you're flipping, folding, assembling, and praying nothing collapses like a poorly built omelette skyscraper. Breakfast at McDonald's is not a meal, it's an engineering discipline. Everything must be symmetrical, perfectly measured, and timed with military precision. The eggs aren't just eggs, they're structural components, load-bearing pieces of a breakfast ecosystem that could collapse if angled incorrectly. You place each egg ring on the grill with the seriousness of someone marking property lines. Those egg rings, by the way, are small metal halos designed to transform unpredictable egg whites into obedient circular breakfast coins. They hiss and rattle as you pour in the yolk mixture, forming perfect discs that would make even geometry teachers weep with pride. You lift the rings carefully, like removing scaffolding from a newly constructed building. If the edges stick, you whisper a soft apology to the egg and hope it forgives you. Then there's the meat. The sausage patties pop and sizzle, each one releasing small bursts of steam that smell like comfort and cardiovascular compromise. Bacon cooks in neat, regimented strips, crisping into identical shapes as if they've signed a contract promising good behaviour, and the Canadian bacon, that rosy, circular marvel, slides onto the grill like it's auditioning for a role in a breakfast-themed musical. But the real chaos begins when the breakfast rush hits. You suddenly find yourself surrounded by time. Time everywhere. Timers for biscuits, timers for hash browns, timers for eggs, timers you didn't even know existed. Each one beep, 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 beeping with the urgency of a tiny robot trying desperately to get your attention. The entire kitchen becomes a symphony of alarms, sizzling, clattering trays and panicked voices. Customers love breakfast. They love it with a devotion that borders on religious, and they want it fast. You're moving at lightning speed, stacking egg rounds, flipping sausage, sliding hash browns into sleeves like you're performing card tricks. Orders pile up. Sandwiches multiply. You glance at the ticket screen and swear it somehow had fewer items a second ago. Let's talk about the McMuffin assembly. You grab a toasted English muffin, warm and golden, like a tiny edible moon. You layer meat, egg and cheese with the delicacy of a jeweller placing gems into a crown. The cheese begins to melt, sliding into place just as the top muffin lands with a satisfying squish. Perfection. Then there's the burrito station, where eggs, sausage crumbles, cheese and vegetables are wrapped into tight, tidy breakfast tubes. You roll each tortilla like you're swaddling a newborn. If it tears, you grieve. If it holds, you beam with pride. But the hash browns, those are miracles. Golden, crispy, oily miracles. They emerge from the fryer like sacred relics, shimmering under fluorescent lights. Customers order them by the handful. You slide them into paper sleeves with the gentle reverence of someone handing over precious art. And yet, despite your skill, disaster lurks at every corner. A cracked yolk splatters onto your apron. A cheese slice folds wrong, creating a tragic wrinkle. A hash brown slips and lands on the floor like a fallen soldier. The grill smokes ominously, reminding you that you are but a mortal in a very hot, very hungry universe. Then comes the most terrifying moment of any breakfast shift, when someone orders a round egg instead of scrambled. You must execute the egg ring maneuver flawlessly. No drips, no runny whites, no egg escaping across the grill like it has personal aspirations. Still, as the rush dies down and the alarms quiet, you look at the rows of sandwiches you've assembled, tiny breakfast monuments, each one built with care, heat, and a dash of panic. You realize you've done something extraordinary. You've turned eggs, meat, and bread into architecture. And as you hand off the final McMuffin of the morning, you understand the truth. Breakfast isn't just the most important meal of the day. At McDonald's, it's a full-blown construction project. You're shown a sandwich that looks like ribs but definitely isn't ribs. Corporate insist it's seasonal. Customers treat it like the second coming. You start to wonder if the McRib's ingredients are harvested under a full moon. Your first encounter with the McRib happens quietly. Someone opens a cardboard box in the back freezer and whispers, "It's here." Everyone stops what they're doing, grill workers, managers, even the usually apathetic fry guy. They gather around like archaeologists unearthing a cursed relic. Inside lies a stack of frozen oblong patties shaped vaguely like ribs, as though someone described ribs over a crackling telephone line and the factory did its best. The patties look humble, unassuming, but the myth surrounding them is anything but. You learn quickly that the McRib has a fan base unlike anything you've seen. People don't just like the McRib, they worship it. They track sightings like it's Bigfoot. They speak about it in hushed tones, recounting the last time they tasted one with the glazed nostalgia usually reserved for childhood summers. And when word spreads that the McRib is back, brace yourself. It's like announcing free gold bricks at the drive-thru. But corporate treats the McRib like a rare celestial event. It appears, it disappears. No explanation, no pattern, no logic. They claim it's seasonal, but you're pretty sure the season they're referring to is chaos. Preparing the McRib is an experience in itself. You place the patty on the grill and watch it sizzle into its strange ridged form. The smell is smoky, sweet, and slightly mysterious, like barbecue sauce mixed with secrets. Then comes the saucing. McRib sauce is dangerously enthusiastic. It clings to everything. It spreads with the determination of a toddler finger painting on an expensive wall. You pour it onto the patty, and suddenly the grill looks like a low-budget horror scene. Then there's the assembly. Bun, pickles, onions, patty. Simple, right? Except the sauce immediately begins migrating outward, reaching for your hands, your apron, the counter, the next dimension. You wrap it carefully in its paper cradle, hoping the sandwich doesn't wriggle free like a mischievous salamander. When the first McRib of the day is handed out, something mystical happens. The customer receives it with reverence. They cradle it. They thank you as though you personally orchestrated its return. and then they vanish into the parking lot where they devour it in their car with the focus of someone experiencing a spiritual awakening. But the real chaos begins 2 weeks later when the McRib suddenly vanishes. The freezer is empty, the posters come down, the sauce bins disappear overnight like stolen treasure. Corporate offers no explanation. Customers demand answers. You have none. All you can do is shrug and say, "It's gone," which is treated with more emotional weight than you anticipated. Some regulars enter denial. "It'll be back tomorrow," they say confidently. "Corporate can't do this to me," says a man clutching a coupon with trembling hands. A teenager dramatically whispers, "I never even got to try it." You begin to see patterns, strange patterns. The McRib returns when pork prices dip, or when corporate needs a question for morale boost, or when the planets align just right. It's never confirmed, but employees share theories like seasoned conspiracy analysts. One person swears the McRib appears only after rainfall. Another insists the company keeps them in cryogenic stasis. Someone claims the ingredients can only be legally transported during specific tidal conditions. And honestly, that feels believable, because the McRib isn't just a sandwich, it's an event, a phenomenon, a temporary cultural reset button. And when it's gone, you're left standing in a quiet kitchen, wiping sauce from your sleeves, feeling like you just witnessed something rare and slightly supernatural, like spotting a UFO, or a customer who knows their exact order before reaching the speaker. You don't question it anymore. Some things in the McDonald's universe simply defy logic. And the McRib? It leads that list with saucy, slippery confidence. A teenager with mysterious confidence orders something called a McGangbang. You blink. You ask for clarification. They whisper, "Trust me." Suddenly you're performing burger fusion surgery in full view of confused children. You didn't know McDonald's had a secret menu. Corporate certainly never mentioned it. The training films never included a smiling employee saying, "And here's how you combine 2 sandwiches into a towering monstrosity we definitely did not approve." But the customers know, teenagers know, and they treat this information like forbidden knowledge passed down through generations. The first time someone orders a secret menu item, it feels like entering a covert culinary society. They lean in slightly, lowering their voice like spies exchanging nuclear codes. "Can I get a McGangbang?" they ask. You stare, unsure if this is a prank, a crime, or both. After an uncomfortable pause, they clarify, "McChicken inside a McDouble." You assemble it with the conflicted precision of someone performing morally questionable science. You open the McDouble, insert the McChicken, and close the bun like sealing a vault. The resulting sandwich looks like architectural satire, massive, layered, alive. The teenager accepts it with a nod of respect as if you've passed a test. But this is only the beginning. Word spreads. Soon, customers approach with increasingly chaotic requests. Someone asks for a land, sea and air burger, beef patty, fish fillet, and McChicken stacked into one protein chimera. Another customer asks for a grilled cheese made by flipping Big Mac buns upside down like it's a secret ritual. Someone wants fries inside their burger. Someone else wants a McFlurry poured over their apple pie for science. And despite your fear, you start to understand the appeal. The secret menu isn't about hunger, it's about creativity, imagination, a rebellion against the rigid lines of laminated menus. It's culinary jazz. Still, the process is chaotic. You find yourself juggling ingredients like an overwhelmed wizard, buns on one side, patties on the other, sauces lining up like dominoes ready to fall. The assembly area becomes a battlefield of crumbs and hope. Co-workers glance over, silently asking, "Who ordered that?" You shrug helplessly. The customers, meanwhile, observe with fascination. Children press their faces to the sneeze guard. Teenagers cheer. Parents look deeply concerned. You feel like a street performer except instead of juggling flaming torches, you're stacking meat. Let's talk about sauces gone wild. The person ordering an absurd creation will inevitably ask for lots of sauce. When you ask how much, they say, "I'll tell you when." That is never reassuring. You squeeze. They say, "More." You squeeze again. More. Eventually the sandwich resembles a geological experiment involving tangy sedimentary layers. And then there's the moment of crisis, when someone orders a secret menu item you've never heard of. They approach confidently and say, "Can I get 'em a crepe?" Your mind spins. A crepe. You don't sell crepes. Then they explain, "It's a hot cake folded around yogurt and apples." You realize you're building a breakfast burrito no human ever requested. Some items are beautiful, some are monstrous, some defy ethics. All of them leave you with sticky hands. But through repetition, something strange happens. You become good at it. You start anticipating secret menu requests before they finish speaking. You learn the shorthand. Double crunch means extra chicken. Poor man's Big Mac means McDouble with special sauce and lettuce. McChamp means a McChicken patty swapped into a cheeseburger. You're no longer confused, you're fluent. And like a medieval craftsman creating forbidden works in candlelit chambers, you take pride in your off-book creations. You slide the finished sandwich across the counter with a small flourish, like a magician completing a trick. Corporate may never acknowledge the secret menu, but you know the truth. It is the heartbeat of McDonald's folklore. The whispered mythology, the unregulated frontier, and as the next teenager approaches with that confident smirk and says, "Okay, can you make a..." You smile with a mixture of fear and triumph, because you know you're about to create something unholy, and you're absolutely going to nail it. The play place looms like a soft plastic labyrinth of existential dread. Kids scream, parents cry. You glance inside the ball pit and feel the ancient spirits judging you from beneath the surface. You were warned about the play place. Veteran employees spoke of it like a haunted forest, full of noises, shadows, and things that once belonged to the living. But nothing prepares you for stepping near it during peak chaos hour. The structure towers over you in bright, primary-coloured plastic, looking cheerful on the outside like a clown's smile, but vibrating with the secrets of decades of spilled apple juice and questionable life choices. The moment a child enters the play place, they undergo a transformation. Quiet toddlers become Olympic sprinters. Mild-mannered kids become climbing prodigies capable of scaling tubes at impossible speeds. Siblings become rival warlords battling for dominance over the twisty slide. It's like watching Lord of the Flies, but with more socks. Every few minutes you hear a sound that makes your spine tingle. The unmistakable thwomp of a child hurling themselves into the ball pit. The balls shift, ripple, and swallow them whole. For a moment the child disappears entirely. Parents gasp. You gasp. Then the kid resurfaces triumphantly like a submarine emerging from the depths, usually holding someone else's shoe. And yet, you know the truth. That pit is bottomless in spirit. Its contents are older than recorded time. Somewhere in there lies every missing hair clip, every runaway Happy Meal toy, every receipt that vanished from the counter in 1994. Archaeologists could spend their lives excavating the play place and still never reach the floor. When it comes to germs, the play place is a microbial wonderland. Kids sneeze freely. They lick things freely. They touch everything with the enthusiasm of scientists cataloguing texture samples. You spray sanitizer on every surface, but it evaporates instantly, absorbed into the thriving ecosystem of fingerprints. Even the air feels sticky, as if coated in an invisible mist of childhood enthusiasm and airborne bacteria. Then there's the slide. Long, curving, enclosed, a glorious tube of joy for kids and a portal to despair for adults. At the bottom is always a static shock powerful enough to register on scientific instruments. Children launch themselves through it repeatedly, emerging with hair standing straight up like tiny mad scientists. Occasionally a kid gets stuck halfway, and you must gently coax them out like you're rescuing a raccoon from a ventilation duct. Parents, meanwhile, linger at the edges. You see them clutching coffee cups, staring blankly into the void, silently praying their child will leave voluntarily before they must enter the play place themselves. Because every parent knows, once you crawl into those tubes, you are never the same. Emerging from the play place as an adult requires bravery, flexibility, and a strong awareness of your own mortality. Every shift brings new mysteries. A toddler crying because they dropped their sock somewhere in the maze. A brother insisting he saw a ghost kid in the tunnel. A little girl calmly informing you that she found a French fry from long ago. A parent frantically asking, "Is that liquid?" as you avoid answering. And you, the employee, are the reluctant guardian of this plastic kingdom. You sweep the floors. You wipe down the tables. You retrieve the occasional child who cannot remember which tube they came from. You do not enter the bull pit, not because it's against the rules, but because you value your sanity. Still, despite the chaos, the play place holds a strange magic. Children love it more than anything. Their laughter fills the air. Their imaginations transform plastic tunnels into pirate ships, spaceships, secret hideouts. Parents, exhausted but grateful, watch from afar, enjoying 3 minutes of uninterrupted adult thought. And when the day ends and the play place quiets, you stand before it in the dim glow of closing lights. The balls settle. The slides hush. The spirits slumber. You survived another day. And somewhere deep inside the pit, a sock stirs waiting for tomorrow. A truck pulls up. Inside, hundreds of boxes, each containing something slightly disappointing. You unload ingredients, containers, napkins, uniforms, and enough ketchup packets to fuel a revolution. Supply truck day arrives with the same ominous energy as tax season, or a surprise visit from your in-laws. The back door rattles, the air shifts, and suddenly the parking lot is filled with the rumbling presence of a semi-truck whose driver looks like he's seen things, condiment-related things, that have permanently changed him. He hands you a clipboard, the sacred scroll of logistics. You sign your soul away in ballpoint pen, and the unloading ritual begins. The truck door rolls open with a dramatic metallic groan, revealing boxes, nothing but boxes. Walls of cardboard stacked high to the heavens, threatening to topple over and bury you in an avalanche of disposable lids and frozen patties. Somewhere in the distance, you swear you hear Gregorian chanting. Each box is labelled with mysterious codes that corporate insist make sense. HB4 to A, FRY 9BULK, MISCNONEDIBLE. You assume this means mystery box, open at your own risk. The manager barks out instructions like you're participating in a high-stakes archaeological dig. You hop inside the truck and start carrying them out, one at a time, feeling the weight of industrialized food supply on your mortal shoulders. Let's talk about the variety. Some boxes are light, filled with napkins so thin they could double as tracing paper. Others are heavy, frozen meats stacked inside like protein bricks. One box is suspiciously jiggly. You pretend not to notice. Every trip into the truck feels hotter. Stale air hangs around you. The cardboard dust coats your throat. Your arms burn. Your back complains. You pull out a crate of McFlurry spoons that, fun fact, look like scientific instruments, but are not straws, a fact you will explain many times later today. Then comes the ketchup packets. You open a box expecting a modest supply. What you find is enough ketchup to supply a small nation during wartime. Thousands upon thousands of tiny red packets pour out like you've disturbed a condiment nest. They skitter across the floor. They hide under shelving. You'll find rogue packets for months. Next are the uniforms. You open a box of shirts that all have the same mandatory corporate enthusiasm shade of grey. There are sizes ranging from nearly fits to technically clothing, and every shirt smells faintly of factory plastic and future sweat. The freezer boxes are the real challenge. These contain frozen hash browns, burgers, chicken patties, and they're colder than your manager's tone when you ask for a day off. You carry them into the walk-in freezer, feeling like an Arctic explorer tasked with transporting artifacts through unforgiving terrain. The air inside hits you like a frosty slap. You stack the boxes quickly, praying none fall and crack open like protein piñatas. Then there's the syrup for the soda machine. Heavy, sticky, ominous. If you drop one of these bags, the resulting explosion could probably glue your shoes to the floor forever. You treat each one with the reverence of an ancient relic. Of course, not everything arrives in perfect condition. Sometimes a box rips open in your arms and showers you in hundreds of straws. Sometimes a bag of shredded lettuce bursts and creates a tiny green snowstorm. Once, an entire case of pickles fell over, filling the air with the sharp scent of brine and shattered dreams. But slowly, box by box, you empty the truck. The pile in the back room grows. Your muscles tremble. Your manager checks items off the list with the cold efficiency of a medieval scribe. And finally, the truck is empty. The last box is stacked. The clipboard is returned. The driver nods at you with weary solidarity before climbing back into his giant metal beast and rolling away to repeat this ritual elsewhere. You stand in the storage room, surrounded by towers of cardboard and supplies, sweaty and exhausted but triumphant, because supply truck day isn't just a chore, it's a test of endurance, a trial by cardboard, a heroic act of organisation, and tomorrow you'll be using everything you unloaded, one napkin, one tray liner, one ketchup packet at a time. The uniform is stiff, it itches, it reflects light in a way that feels hostile, and the visor, it sits on your head like a plastic reminder that your scalp belongs to corporate now. The moment you pull the shirt over your head, you understand the truth. This is not clothing, this is a wearable contract. The polyester clings to your torso like a needy ex, always there, always slightly damp, and always making you question your life choices. It traps heat with the efficiency of a greenhouse, ensuring you will remain in a perpetual simmer no matter how close you stand to the freezer. The name tag, cold and metallic, is pinned to your chest with the solemnity of a military decoration, except instead of honouring valour, it announces your availability to answer questions like, why is the ice cream machine broken? And do you guys still sell that thing I saw on TV once in 1998? The pants are stiff, unyielding, and somehow both too big and too small. They swish loudly when you walk, as if announcing your movements to the entire kitchen. Here they come, the pants whisper. They're uncomfortable, and everyone knows it. But the visor, this small semicircle of plastic perched awkwardly on your forehead, has one job: keep sweat from dripping into your eyes while simultaneously destroying your self-esteem. The strap digs into your skull like it's taking measurements. The brim juts forward proudly, blocking approximately half an inch of sunlight while making sure you look like a character cut from the final draft of a dystopian novel. The uniform also has a particular smell, a blend of stale fryer oil, laundry detergent, panic, and something you can only describe as breakfast shift. No matter how many times you wash it, the scent lingers, woven into the fabric like a haunting. And when you put it on in the morning, the aroma whispers, prepare yourself. Then there's the heat factor. Polyester is not breathable, it is not flexible, it is not kind. The moment you step near the grill, the shirt fuses to your back like shrink wrap. You feel sweat rolling down your spine in slow motion, forming patterns that could be interpreted by meteorologists. You try to wipe your forehead, but the visor blocks your hand like a goalie defending a very sweaty goal. And corporate design choices, they're questionable. The colours are meant to be professional, but somehow they turn your complexion into something found in a Victorian medical journal. The shirt cuts are boxy in a way that suggests no one in the design department has ever seen a human body. Yet, despite all this, the uniform has power. When you put it on, co-workers nod at you with understanding. A silent bond forms. You become part of a tribe, a brotherhood and sisterhood of people who have collectively agreed to endure polyester adversity in exchange for minimum wage and discounted apple pies. You notice things too. How new hires struggle with their visors, adjusting them every 5 minutes. How seasoned employees wear their uniforms with the resigned confidence of warriors who have accepted fate. How everyone has their own hack. Undershirts to prevent chafing, rolled sleeves for ventilation, slightly loosened collars for survival, and the pockets, dear Lord, the pockets. They're either too shallow to hold anything or so deep they can swallow a pen for 3 months. You put your phone in your pocket once, you never saw it again, but the uniform teaches you resilience, humility, acceptance. You learn to move in it, sweat in it, breathe in it, barely, and function despite it. You grow attached, in a Stockholm Syndrome kind of way. One day, you catch yourself straightening your visor without thinking, and that's when you know corporate has fully claimed your scalp. Yet when the shift ends, and you peel off the shirt like a second oil-scented skin, you feel reborn. Air hits your body like divine intervention. You look at your folded uniform and think, we survived another day. Because the uniform may itch, it may cling, it may haunt your laundry basket, but it also marks you as part of something bigger. The chaotic, sweaty, unforgettable universe of McDonald's. You meet every personality type ever created. The complainer, the confused grandparent, the overly specific customer who thinks you're a culinary wizard. Each interaction tests your patience and your understanding of humanity. The longer you work at McDonald's, the more you realize you're not just serving food, you're studying sociology in real time. Every hour brings new characters, new dramas, new emotional arcs. It's like being trapped in a reality show where the contestants don't know they're competing, and the only prize is a hot apple pie. Let's start with the complainer. The moment they step through the door, the atmosphere shifts. Clouds darken, fryers tremble. They approach the counter with a sigh so heavy it should be medically evaluated. They order a simple burger, but their expectations are set at Michelin star levels. If the pickles aren't perfectly aligned or the cheese isn't positioned with laser precision, oh, you'll hear about it. They tap the counter, they demand a manager, they tell you they come here all the time, which is always code for I am about to ruin your afternoon. Then there's the confused grandparent, a gentle, bewildered soul navigating a menu designed for people who text with both thumbs. They squint at the board for several minutes, whispering things like, "What on earth is a McFlurry?" They attempt to order items discontinued in 1987. They hand you coupons that predate the moon landing, but they are sweet, patient, and grateful for any help. When you hand them their tray, they smile in a way that somehow restores your faith in the universe. Next is the overly specific customer, the one who approaches ordering with the same seriousness as negotiating a peace treaty. I want a cheeseburger, but with no burger, and 2 bottom buns, and 3 pickles placed diagonally, and ketchup only if it's from a fresh packet. And can you toast the cheese? You nod slowly, typing in instructions that read like a cryptic prophecy. They watch attentively, ensuring every detail is met. You feel like you're assembling a burger for a dragon who will destroy the village if displeased. Then there's the guy who orders nothing but coffee. He appears at unpredictable times, dawn, noon, evening, and always with the same request. Just coffee. His eyes are tired, His voice is calm, and sometimes he looks like he's been wandering the earth for centuries, fueled solely by caffeine and profound disappointment. But he's kind. He always says thank you, and his existence becomes strangely comforting. Proof that even in chaos, some things remain consistent. Of course, you can't forget the teen horde, a cluster of high schoolers who descend like locusts after practice. They order 14 McChickens, 3 fries, 2 McFlurries, and 1 water, which they refill with soda the moment you turn around. They swarm the dining area, laughing loudly, leaving behind a battlefield of straw wrappers and existential crumbs. Yet they're harmless, cheerful, alive in a way you vaguely remember being once. Then comes Karen, a force of nature wrapped in pastel athleisure. Her haircut alone announces that she will not be accepting the current reality. She approaches with a frown so sharp it could slice through the drive-through window. She complains before ordering. She threatens Yelp reviews. She demands things that violate known physics. When her order is finished, she inspects it with the intensity of a jewel appraiser. If she finds a flaw, she sighs theatrically and begins a monologue that lasts longer than most feature films. You also meet the indecisive customers, who stare at the menu for 10 full minutes, then step forward and say, what do I want?" in a tone that suggests they've never seen food before, and the whisperers, who place orders so quietly you start to doubt your own hearing, and the shouters, who speak at a volume typically reserved for rescue missions. But sometimes, gloriously, you meet the perfect customer. They know what they want. They speak clearly. They smile. They say thank you. They leave the counter better than they found it. Their presence is so refreshing, you consider elevating them to sainthood. By the end of each shift, you've interacted with a full spectrum of humanity, from confused to chaotic, from sweet to terrifying. And you realize that working at McDonald's isn't just customer service, it's anthropology, and you've earned your honorary degree. After midnight, McDonald's becomes liminal space. The fryers hum softly, shadows dance. You hear whispers that might be the wind or the spirits of forgotten Happy Meal toys. There's something about the night shift that feels ancient, ritualistic, like you're participating in a quiet nocturnal ceremony, preserved from the earliest days of fast food. The lights are dimmer, the air colder, the beeps fewer but somehow more ominous. You can hear the hum of the refrigerators, the drone of the ice machine, the occasional clatter of a utensil settling in an empty kitchen. It is peaceful. It is unsettling. It is the fast food equivalent of a haunted monastery. Customers are rare at this hour, appearing sporadically like wandering ghosts in need of fries. You speak to them softly, kindly, as though raising your voice might disturb whatever else is roaming these tile floors. They shuffle forward, half awake, ordering burgers with the quiet desperation of travellers seeking refuge. You hand them their food like a priest offering sacraments at a midnight vigil. When the dining room empties, the shadows take over. They stretch across the booths and slide along the walls. The overhead lights flicker just enough to make you question your sanity. You could have sworn you saw the play area move just now, but no, probably just your imagination. Probably. The kitchen itself behaves differently at night. The fryers hiss less aggressively. The grill crackles with a softer rhythm. The utensils clink gently, as if aware that any loud noise might wake something sleeping in the stockroom. You wipe down counters with slow, meditative movements, listening to the hush of the ventilation system breathing overhead like some metallic beast slumbering above you. And then the noises begin. A soft tapping near the freezer, a faint rustling from behind the soda machine, a distant clunk from the mop sink area. You freeze, heart thumping, spatula raised like a makeshift weapon. But when you investigate, nothing is there, just emptiness, cold air. Cold, and the lingering sense that you walk directly through someone's unfinished business. Your co-workers, those who've lasted multiple night shifts, Swap stories like folklore, tales of utensils that move on their own, timers that beep without being set, a single Happy Meal toy that reappears no matter where it is thrown away, and the infamous walk-in freezer whisper, a phenomenon involving a faint voice that murmurs unintelligibly whenever you step inside to grab frozen nuggets. They tell you these things casually, sipping their sodas as though recounting weather reports. One co-worker swears they heard a gentle giggle from the freezer at 2:13 a.m, only to discover a box of apple pies slightly shifted out of alignment. Another claims they saw a shadow move across the grill hood even though no one else was working that station. You laugh, nervously, because you definitely believe in ghosts now. But haunting aside, there's beauty in the night shift. The quiet lets you slow down. Tasks become rhythmic. Sweep, wipe, restock, repeat. There's no lunch rush, no fryer frenzy, no shouting over the chaos. Instead, you savour the simplicity of refilling straw dispensers, straightening ketchup packets, and listening to the gentle hum of a world temporarily paused. Of course, the serenity is interrupted occasionally by the nocturnal regular, the customer who arrives at exactly 2 a.m, every shift. They order something simple, a filet-o-fish, or a large Coke, or 10 chicken nuggets for emotional support. Their appearance is comforting, like a lighthouse guiding you through the dark waters of your shift. Then, just before dawn, the restaurant changes again. The air grows warmer, the shadows retreat. The grill lights flicker back to full brightness. Somewhere outside, birds start chirping, unaware that you've spent the past 7 hours contemplating fast food ghosts. And as the first early commuters trickle in, the night's strange charm begins to fade, but you carry it with you, the quiet, the weirdness, the whispered mysteries of a McDonald's after midnight. Because once you've worked the night shift, you understand something profound. McDonald's isn't haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by the memories of every shift ever lived, and by the eternal, echoing cry of a Happy Meal toy that refuses to stay lost. Kids scream with joy. Parents sigh with despair. You watch as tiny plastic figurines change the world of children's marketing forever, and also create small mountains of clutter in minivans across America. The Happy Meal arrives in your life like a colourful tornado, bright, cheerful, and immediately loud. The first time you hand one across the counter, you see the transformation occur in real time. The child's eyes widen with unfiltered euphoria, while the parent behind them visibly ages 3 years. Because the Happy Meal isn't just food, it's a contract, a pact, a deal struck between marketing departments and children everywhere that states, you will receive a toy and you will lose it within 48 hours. The toys themselves are marvels of engineering and confusion, bright plastic shapes moulded into characters from movies, shows, or sometimes original creations no one fully understands. They squeak, they rattle, they light up for a week and then never again. Some have detachable parts that were clearly approved by someone who has never met an actual child. Others are miniature figurines whose expressions suggest even they are begging for release from this existence. Parents approach the counter with a special kind of dread. "Do you still have the blue one?" they ask, as if you're running an underground black market toy ring. You check the box, of course you don't. You only have the green ones today. You deliver the sad news like a doctor sharing difficult test results. The parent nods, defeated, knowing their child will now refuse to eat until they receive the exact plastic creature their tiny heart desires. But the children, they treat these toys like museum artifacts. Each one is precious, essential, life-altering. You watch tiny hands clutch the box with reverence, shaking it vigorously to guess which toy hides inside. The meal itself, the burger, the fries, the apple slices, could fall into a sewer drain and they wouldn't notice. The toy is what matters. The food is background noise. Let's talk about the packaging. Those cheerful boxes with puzzles, mazes, little facts printed on the sides, miniature billboards created by someone who said, "Kids love learning," and then promptly included riddles that confuse everyone, including adults. You fold the boxes carefully, tucking the tabs into place like a paper engineer, but children tear them apart instantly, shredding the cardboard into confetti that will forever populate the floors of minivans, couch cushions, and daycare centres. The Happy Meal distribution process becomes an unexpected skill. You learn which toys are rare, which ones kids fight over, which ones mysteriously vanish from the toy bin whenever a certain employee works the closing shift. You start to understand the toy rotation schedule. You begin speaking in code. The dragons are out. The robots arrive Tuesday. You're now part of a global supply chain of tiny plastic joy and misery. But then comes the chaos, the trade economy. Kids barter Happy Meal toys with the ferocity of stockbrokers. They approach the counter demanding to swap one figurine for another. They negotiate with siblings. They cry when they receive duplicates. You once witnessed two children conduct a 6-minute debate over the relative merits of a plastic dinosaur whose leg kept falling off. And yet, despite the clutter, the noise, the tears, the plastic ecosystem forming inside every family vehicle, you see something magical. The Happy Meal creates moments, small, loud, sticky moments of pure childhood wonder, the kind that imprint themselves into memories long after the toys themselves have been vacuumed up or lost under the passenger seat forever. Parents may sigh, kids may scream. You may question why one plastic toy has the emotional impact of a Nobel Prize. But you can't deny the power of the Happy Meal. It changed marketing. It changed childhood. It built empires. And every time you hand one across the counter, watching a tiny face light up like a supernova, you feel it. You're witnessing magic. Loud, chaotic, plastic magic. The kind that makes minivans messy and childhoods unforgettable. You fill a cup with Coke and immediately understand why people say McDonald's soda hits different. The syrup ratio, the filtration system, the icy perfection. It's practically divine intervention. You don't just pour McDonald's Coke, you experience it. The moment you press the lever on the fountain, you hear a crisp hiss, a sound so pure it could be used as the opening note in a celestial choir. The cup begins to fill with a dark, bubbling nectar that sparkles under the fluorescent lights like liquid obsidian. And the ice, oh, the ice, cascades into the cup with a gentle clatter of frozen gemstones. You look at it and think, I understand now. I understand everything. Because here's the truth. McDonald's Coke is different. Not emotionally, not nostalgically, scientifically. You learn from corporate training and whispered employee lore that the soda syrup is stored in stainless steel tanks instead of flimsy plastic bags. This makes the syrup taste fresher, richer, sharper. It's like comparing a fine wine aged in oak barrels to one stored in a backyard kiddie pool. The difference is substantial. Then there's the filtration system. McDonald's water is filtered with the same seriousness other industries reserve for medical equipment or international espionage. It removes impurities, minerals, and probably a few sins along the way. By the time the water meets the syrup, it's so clean it could qualify for sainthood. The fusion of syrup and water is a chemical romance, a bubbling partnership destined for greatness. But the real secret, the temperature. At McDonald's, the soda is chilled to an aggressively perfect degree, not cold, optimal. Corporate apparently studied the exact temperature at which Coke tastes most refreshing and said, yes, this. Refrigerate it to this number forever. So when that icy stream hits your cup, it's already halfway to being the greatest beverage you've ever had. And customers know it. They crave it. They arrive at the counter with hollow, caffeine-deprived eyes and say, large Coke, No hesitation, no menu scanning. They don't want water, they don't want Sprite, they want the elixir. Then comes the first sip. You watch it happen all day. The eyes close, the shoulders relax. A shiver runs down the spine. Some people whisper, "Oh my God." One man once bowed slightly in gratitude. Another said it was the closest thing he's had to a religious experience in years. But perfection comes at a price, because the Coke fountain is one of the temperamental gods of the McDonald's kitchen. Sometimes the machine sputters. Sometimes the syrup runs low. Sometimes the carbonation decides it needs a day off and produces a soda so flat it feels like betrayal. When this happens, chaos unfolds. Customers storm the counter, waving their cups like protest signs. "This doesn't taste right," they declare, as though you personally sabotage their liquid joy. You perform emergency troubleshooting. Check the syrup box, recalibrate the ratio, smack the machine gently like an old television. The machine gurgles ominously. You whisper encouragement. Because if there's one thing the night shift doesn't need, it's a Coke fountain uprising. Eventually the machine sputters back into harmony, releasing its sacred beverage once more. You fill a cup, take a quick sip to ensure quality, for purely professional reasons, and nod approvingly. Balance is restored. Meanwhile, the ice bin requires constant refilling. The McDonald's ice is its own legend, crunchy, clear, perfectly sized for maximum chomp satisfaction. Customers ask for extra ice, no ice, light ice, ice on the side. One person even asked for just a cup of ice, which felt oddly intimate. And when you hand someone a fresh Coke, condensation beading on the cup, the lid bowed slightly from carbonation. You feel a small but powerful sense of pride, because you know the truth. McDonald's Coke isn't just a drink, it's medicine, it's magic, it's hydration with personality. And as customers drive away sipping their chemically perfect masterpiece, you stand behind the counter, watching them disappear into the horizon, knowing you've given them something precious, something divine, something that hits different. The back room is your sanctuary. A tiny room with beige walls, a single chair, and the stale smell of French fries. You sit, breathe, and question all your life choices before returning to the battlefield. The first time you step into the back room, you expect something. Peace, maybe. Organization. A place where sanity is stored on a shelf next to extra napkins. But no. What greets you is a cramped, dimly lit chamber that feels like a cross between a storage closet, a meditation cell, and a confessional booth for exhausted employees. Stacks of boxes line the walls, cups, lids, straws, sauces, all arranged in a way that suggests someone tried to be orderly, but eventually surrendered to entropy. A bulletin board displays corporate posters with slogans like "Smile More" and "Customers First," in fonts that feel like they're mocking you. Next to them is a schedule written in dry erase marker that has been erased and rewritten so many times it now reads like hieroglyphics. And then there's the chair, the single, lonely chair in the corner. Its legs wobble. Its cushion is worn down to the emotional equivalent of "don't ask." Every employee who sits in it leaves a small part of their soul behind, absorbed into the vinyl seat like spilled soda. You sit anyway. This is where your break begins. Your fleeting, precious, sacred break. A full 10 minutes of silence, reflection, and contemplating the mysteries of the world, such as, why is the ice cream machine always broken? Why did that one customer order 14 sauces? Why does the fry station smell like existential panic? Why are you suddenly craving a McNugget even though you swore you wouldn't eat here anymore? You lean back, close your eyes, and breathe in air that is 70% fryer fumes. It is somehow comforting. Other employees drift in and out like ghosts of shifts past. Someone collapses into the chair with a dramatic sigh. Someone else leans against the wall, scrolling their phone, whispering, "I can't go back out there yet." A third person rummages through the supply shelf hoping to find a hidden snack, discovering instead a packet of ketchup from the year of our Lord 2004. The backroom conversations are legendary. Employees bond over war stories. The time someone ordered a burger as rare as legally possible. The day a kid threw a chicken nugget directly into the air vent. The mythical shift when everything went right and no one believes it actually happened. Laughter echoes through the cramped space, bouncing off beige walls and cardboard towers. But the back room also hosts questionable decisions. You've eaten fries off a napkin in here. You've reconsidered quitting, and then unreconsidered quitting 5 minutes later. You've sat on the floor because someone else claimed the chair and you didn't have the strength to fight for it. You've stared at your reflection in the microwave door asking, "Is this my villain origin story?" Sometimes the manager appears in the doorway like a harbinger of doom. "Break's over," they announce. You glance at your watch. It's been 247 seconds. Time, in the back room, moves differently, fast and slow, warm and cold, stretchy like mozzarella. You negotiate for just one more minute, knowing full well they will deny your plea and you will rise anyway, defeated but slightly more hydrated. Other times you hide here for a moment not to rest, but to escape, to breathe, to remember that you are a human being with dreams and goals and the ability to form coherent sentences outside of, "Do you want fries with that?" The backroom doesn't judge you. It simply exists, a neutral zone between chaos and chaos. And then, once your mind relaxes and your heart rate stabilizes, you realize something beautiful. This tiny room, with its flickering light and questionable chair, is a refuge. A sanctuary for fast food warriors, a place where you reset, recharge and prepare to dive back into the fryer fog. You stand, stretch, dust fry salt off your shirt, take one final breath of backroom air, and with the courage of someone who has stared into the beige abyss and survived, you step back out onto the front lines. You witness franchise owners arguing with corporate like medieval peasants battling a king. Policies change monthly, standards shift. Someone threatens to quit over the new ketchup ratio. You didn't think working in fast food would introduce you to the world of political intrigue. But here you are, standing in the middle of a fluorescent-lit throne room where the monarchy is McDonald's headquarters, and the local lords are franchise owners clinging to their territories with white-knuckled intensity. Every meeting feels like a dramatic scene from a historical epic, except instead of swords, everyone is armed with spreadsheets. The first time you overhear a franchise owner talking to corporate, it feels like eavesdropping on ancient diplomacy. The tone is polite, technically, but beneath it simmers the energy of someone who's spent decades fighting battles no one outside the fast food kingdom will ever understand. They say things like, "We simply can't maintain the required drive-through times with this equipment," which, in medieval terms, translates to, "Your Majesty, our catapult is broken and we're being overrun." Corporate, meanwhile, speaks a completely different dialect. They throw out phrases like brand integrity, uniform guest experience and synergy, none of which mean anything to you as a grease-covered mortal. They announce new protocols with the confidence of rulers who have never once touched a grill spatula. Starting next month, they decree, the ketchup to mustard ratio on all burgers will be adjusted by 0.3%. Franchise owners blink slowly, contemplating their life choices, and this is where the real drama begins. Because every new policy, no matter how microscopic, sets off a chain reaction. Managers gather like medieval guilds, whispering urgently in the back room. Employees look over their shoulders as though the hamburger gods are watching. Someone mutters. They change the fry scooping technique again, and a hush falls over the shift. Meanwhile, franchise owners gather with dramatic flair. You witness them standing in a small circle in the parking lot, gesturing passionately at laminated memos. One declares, "We cannot survive another round of menu board redesigns." Another complains, "Corporate wants us to replace all the sauce dispensers." Again. A third clutches his forehead and sighs. Do they know how much a new soda machine costs? I could buy a used car. And yet, every month, the changes keep coming. New uniforms, new signage, new safety protocols, new limited time menu items that require equipment no store has room for. You once watched a manager attempt to cram a new promotional chocolate dipping machine into a space meant for a small potted plant. It didn't fit. Nothing fits. Then there are the business meetings. Oh, the meetings. Tables covered in papers, laptops open to complex graphs showing fry output, ice cream machine uptime, and peak McNugget demand hours. Franchise owners debate topics like medieval philosophers arguing about the nature of the universe. If we increase staffing by one person, will the drive-through times improve? Should we invest in new fry baskets or repair the old ones with hopeful thoughts? Is the ice cream machine's failure a mechanical issue or a spiritual one? Corporate offers solutions like consider enhancing labor optimization via customer flow analytics, which is corporate speak for work faster with fewer people. Franchise owners respond with expressions typically reserved for tragic plays. You once saw a heated argument unfold over the correct number of napkins allowed per bag. You also witnessed a franchise owner passionately defend the right to place a plant in the dining room, despite corporate's insistence that greenery distracts from brand uniformity. These are not small issues, these are matters of pride. And in the middle of it all, you, a humble employee, continue flipping burgers and packing orders like a foot soldier in a much larger war. You watch the battles ripple down to your level, new rules announced at pre-shift meetings, new posters taped above stations, new procedures that somehow make mopping more complicated. But here's the twist. Despite the drama, the franchise system survives. Every conflict resolves eventually. Every decree gets implemented. Every frustrated sigh from the owners becomes part of the soundtrack of the restaurant. Because in this kingdom, no matter how many policies change, how many catch-up ratios are debated, or how many corporate mandates rain from the sky, the burgers must continue. And they will. You watch as McDonald's spreads across the globe like a burger-scented empire. Different menus, different cultures, same clown. You begin to realize you're part of something historically ridiculous and oddly beautiful. At first, you think McDonald's is just an American thing, a roadside pit stop for weary travelers, screaming children, and people who pretend they don't crave fries but absolutely do. But then you look up at a world map pinned in the break room, fading edges, corners curling. Little red dots mark McDonald's locations worldwide. They cover the map like chicken pox. There are so many that the oceans look jealous. It dawns on you. This place isn't just a restaurant. It's a global phenomenon, a burger-based superpower, a culinary conqueror wrapped in sesame seed buns. Corporate calls it international expansion. But let's be honest, it's colonization by combo meal. Anywhere humans gather, McDonald's follows. Desert. Build one. Mountains. Build one. A tiny island with only 40 inhabitants? Better build two in case the first one gets busy. But here's where it gets wild. Every country has its own menu, adapted to local taste and expectations. You learn that Japan has shrimp burgers, India has vegetarian McSpicy patties that could legally be classified as weapons. France serves macarons with the same nonchalance as handing out napkins. In the Philippines, people line up for Chicken McDo with spaghetti, proving once and for all that McDonald's is a shape-shifting entity that bends to the will of whatever culture it enters. The more you observe, the more you realize each region's McDonald's reflects its people. like culinary anthropology wearing a red and yellow uniform. You picture a museum exhibit someday titled Humanity as Understood Through Fries. Meanwhile, corporate proudly reports growth numbers, market penetration, and long-term brand dominance. They speak about global strategy with the same tone war generals use to discuss troop movements. We're entering a new region, they announce, as if unveiling plans for a quiet little burger invasion. You imagine a general drawing battle lines on a map. Here we strike with the McChicken, here we deploy breakfast, and here, our strongest offensive, the McFlurry. And yet, despite how absurd it all sounds, something unexpectedly wholesome emerges. People everywhere, across languages and cultures, understand the ritual of fries. Families gather under golden arches in every time zone. Teenagers go on dates there. Travellers seek comfort in a familiar menu when everything else feels foreign. Workers clock in, clock out, tell stories, and wipe down counters in a dance that repeats itself across continents. You start to feel connected to all of them. The employee in Madrid who burns her hand on the fryer just like you. The manager in Seoul who recites corporate training lines with the same weary precision. The teenager in Nairobi who hands out Happy Meals to kids who rip them open before leaving the counter. The early morning regular in Sydney who orders the same coffee every day at dawn. You're part of a strange, sprawling, grease-scented tapestry of humanity. And let's not forget the clown, the global ambassador nobody asked for. Ronald McDonald appears everywhere, sometimes smiling, sometimes waving, sometimes looking like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. But he's there, in statues, on posters, in commercials translated into a dozen languages. The red-haired symbol of a worldwide movement fueled by burgers, fries, and questionable decisions. Travellers from across the globe tell you stories. In Singapore, they serve rice. In Germany, the beer is cheaper than water. In Egypt, they have McFalafel. You realise the brand has adapted more than some political systems. It's just unstoppable. Does the historical weight of it all sink in? Absolutely. You're participating in a moment of global cultural fusion, perhaps one of the most bizarre in human history. Ancient empires built monuments, conquered lands, and wrote epic tales. But your empire? It built drive-thrus, and people love it. Standing behind the counter, you look up at the glowing arches. They feel both ridiculous and strangely profound. A symbol of modern life, capitalism, comfort, craving, nostalgia, chaos, and community, all wrapped in one shining M, and you, tiny, visor-wearing you, are part of its legacy. A foot soldier in the great burger empire. A witness to humanity's most universal truth. Everyone, everywhere, eventually wants fries. You're handed a small container labelled "Do not open unless authorised," which is confusing because it's sauce. But at McDonald's, Big Mac sauce is treated like liquid gold mixed with classified nuclear data. You measure it out with the precision of a medieval scribe copying sacred texts. One drop too many and management materialises behind you like a disappointed Victorian father. The first time you encounter the Big Mac sauce protocol, you laugh. It's a condiment, you think. A creamy orange spread that looks like a distant cousin of Thousand Island dressing. How important could it be? Then someone hands you the laminated guidelines. They're long, they're detailed. They include diagrams. You begin to wonder if this sauce holds diplomatic power. Corporate insist the sauce must be dispensed with unwavering consistency. Exactly 2 circular swirls. No more, no less, forming a perfect spiral, like a tiny edible galaxy. The nozzle must be held at a precise angle. The bottle must be shaken just enough but never too vigorously, lest the sauce aerate improperly, a phrase you didn't know existed until now. You watch senior employees handle it with the reverence of priests tending to holy relics. They unscrew the cap slowly, gently, as if afraid the spirits of Ronald McDonald's ancestors might escape. When they apply the sauce to buns, they do it with the calm, steady hands of surgeons. You half expect someone to chant. Your first attempt goes poorly. You squeeze too hard. Sauce explodes onto the bun like Jackson Pollock attempting sandwich art. Your manager appears instantly, as if summoned by condiment imbalance. "Too much," they whisper, staring at the bun as though witnessing a crime scene. They scrape off the excess with a spatula and sigh deeply, the sigh of a mentor watching a student fail spectacularly before dawn. You try again. This time you under-dispense barely a drizzle. The manager appears again. "This is a Big Mac," they remind you solemnly, "not a dry historical reenactment." By your third attempt, sweat forms under your visor. The sauce bottle feels heavier, sentient, judgmental. You squeeze slowly, praying silently. A perfect swirl appears, delicate and symmetrical. The manager nods once, like a samurai acknowledging a worthy apprentice. You feel emotionally changed. But the protocol doesn't end at application. No, there are storage standards. The sauce container must be sealed with a special cap stored on a designated shelf and rotated according to a timeline that feels like it was borrowed from NASA's mission control. At the end of each shift, you must log the amount used, as if reporting on sensitive military inventory. And employees talk about it, whisper about it. One swears the sauce recipe is locked in a vault somewhere in Chicago, guarded by former Navy SEALs. Another insists only 5 people on Earth know the formula, and they're forbidden from riding in the same airplane. You don't know if that's true, but something about the protocols makes it feel plausible. Customers, meanwhile, treat the sauce like culinary enlightenment. They ask for extra packets. They demand more on the burger. They ask if they can pay for a cup of it just to take home. You explain the rules. They sigh. They don't understand the gravity, but you do, because you've lived it. You've cleaned the sauce nozzles, an act requiring dexterity, patience, and occasionally emotional counselling. You've refilled the bottles without spilling a drop on your uniform, a feat that deserves a medal. You've seen the devastation of a mislabeled container and the fallout of someone accidentally grabbing tartar sauce instead. People still speak of that incident in hushed tones. And one day, after weeks of effort, something magical happens. You go to apply the sauce and your hand moves effortlessly, confidently, beautifully. The swirl lands with flawless symmetry. Your manager glances over, nods in solemn approval and moves on. You've mastered it. You've entered the inner circle of the sauce initiated. And as you place the bun gently atop the sacred swirl and send the Big Mac down the line, you realize you're not just adding sauce. You're upholding a legacy, a creamy, tangy, corporate legacy. You open the storage room and discover the Coke syrup supply is lower than it should be. Much lower. Suspiciously lower. Employees exchange glances like you've stumbled into a fast food whodunit. Somewhere out there is a soda bandit, someone who knows the syrup tastes better than anything available to mere mortals, and you're about to spend the next hour interrogating teenagers who swear they have no idea what happened. The Coke syrup boxes sit on the shelf like sacred relics, heavy, mysterious, and slightly sticky. They are the lifeblood of the fountain, the nectar of the gods, the reason half the population stops at McDonald's instead of going to therapy. Inventory must be precise, exact, reverent. But today it is wrong. You count again, you blink, you recount. Nope, still short. One whole box of syrup, gone. Poof, vanished into the cola-scented ether. Immediately the atmosphere changes. Co-workers freeze mid-motion like actors in a mystery film. Someone drops a stack of trays. Another whispers, "Not again." You get the sinking feeling this isn't the restaurant's first syrup-related scandal. Your manager steps in, face drawn, voice low. "Someone took the syrup," they say, as if announcing a royal assassination. The team gasps. You half expect thunder to rumble in the distance. Thus begins the investigation. You gather the employees, teenagers mostly, all of them somehow both tired and vibrating with nervous energy. "Does anyone know where the syrup went?" you ask gently. A chorus of "No, nope, I wasn't even here, and what syrup?" fills the air. But you've worked here long enough to recognize guilt. Eyes dart, feet shuffle. One kid suddenly becomes very interested in rearranging napkins. Another begins humming loudly to avoid answering questions. You turn to the camera footage only to remember the security camera in the stockroom has been broken since the Clinton administration. Convenient. Very convenient. So you begin searching for clues. First stop, the walk-in cooler. You peer behind the lettuce bins. Only frost and the ghost of expired milk greet you. Next, the break room. You find empty fry cartons, a pile of mismatched gloves, and a half-eaten apple pie, but no syrup. Then you open the dumpster lid with the caution of someone expecting raccoons or teenagers to leap out. Nothing but the usual horrors. Meanwhile, rumours swirl. I heard someone took it home to make their own Coke fountain. My cousin says people drink the syrup straight. Maybe the night shift mixed it into a McFlurry. Could have been corporate. They're always taking stuff. You start to feel like a detective unravelling a conspiracy, an orange-tinged carbonated conspiracy. Did a rogue employee steal the syrup? Did a customer sneak into the back? Did the syrup simply grow legs and leave due to workplace dissatisfaction? Finally, one of the newer employees timidly raises a hand. "I kind of maybe. Think I saw something." The room leans in. "I think," they whisper. "Someone used a whole syrup box to fill one drink." A single drink? You feel your soul leave your body. "That's impossible," you say. "That would make a cup of Coke so strong it could restart a dead car battery." But the employee insists. They saw someone struggling with the fountain system, pressing buttons in a panic, syrup pumping unchecked like a cola geyser. When confronted, the mystery saboteur had simply said, "It's fine, it's probably supposed to do that," before walking away. You now have a suspect. You confront them gently, because teenagers are delicate creatures held together by snacks and chaos. Their defense is immediate. "I didn't know it would empty the whole bag." You breathe deeply, count to 10, consider early retirement. But the crisis resolves. The missing syrup wasn't stolen. It was sacrificed accidentally into a single cup of soda that someone probably drank and ascended spiritually. Your manager logs the shrinkage in the system. You restock the machine, and the team slowly returns to normal, though now everyone eyes the syrup boxes with a new understanding. They are powerful, they are dangerous, and they must never be left unsupervised. Another day ends in the world of fast food. Another mystery solved. And somewhere out there a customer is still awake at 4 a.m, wondering why their Coke tasted like pure rocket fuel. A customer hands you the iconic hollow McFlurry spoon and says, "This straw's broken." You gently explain for the 47th time this week that it's not a straw, it's a mixing spindle attachment. They stare at you like you've just told them gravity is optional. You begin to wonder how this plastic artifact has caused more confusion than any other object in the restaurant. You'd think the McFlurry spoon would be simple. It's a spoon. A humble, unassuming spoon. But no. This object, this baffling, hollow, angular implement, exists to challenge humanity. It is the sphinx of fast food utensils, and every day dozens of customers fail its riddle. The spoon looks innocent enough. A long plastic handle, clear and squared off, hollowed like a tunnel to nowhere. A little latch at the top. It feels futuristic, like a tool astronauts might use to stir powdered space food. Customers see this and think, straw. Because if something is hollow, surely it belongs in a mouth. But the truth is far stranger. This spoon is not for sipping. It is for machinery. It is engineered intentionally to clip into the McFlurry machine and act as the spindle that blends the ice cream. The spoon is the mixer. The spoon is the attachment. The spoon is the chosen one. But try explaining that to a tired parent at 9 p.m. When customers bring the spoon back, confused, betrayed, deeply disappointed, you hold it gently, like a professor preparing to explain the basics of physics to someone who has lived their whole life upside down. It's not a straw, you say softly. They blink. It's not a straw? No, but it has a hole. That is true, and it looks like a straw. That is also true. So why? And this is the moment you deliver the strange eldritch truth. It's part of the mixing machine. Every time you say those words, the customer's mind fractures slightly. You can watch it happen. Their eyes widen. Their soul leaves their body. Their understanding of reality must reassemble itself. Some nod slowly, accepting the new information like monks receiving cosmic wisdom. Others take longer. One man once stared at the spoon, horrified, and said, "So I've been sucking on a machine part?" You reassured him. "Only the clean part." That didn't help. Children, meanwhile, treat the spoon like magical technology. They hold it up to the light. They try to blow into it. One kid even asked if it could open portals. Honestly, given how mysterious the spoon is, you weren't confident saying no. Then there are the design overachievers, people who attempt to use the spoon as a makeshift whistle, baton, wand, or tiny telescope. One teenager spent 5 full minutes trying to drink a McFlurry through it, before quietly returning it and whispering, "I think your spoons are broken." Let's talk about the machine itself, the McFlurry mixer. It stands behind the counter like a tiny robotic deity, quietly awaiting offerings of ice cream. The spoon snaps into its metal arm with a satisfying click, and suddenly it becomes an instrument of frozen alchemy. The cup rises, the spoon spins, the candy swirls into the ice cream in a hypnotic dance of sugar and dairy. Without the spoon, the machine cannot mix. Without the machine, the spoon is just a confusing piece of plastic that haunts the general public. And without a McFlurry, well, society would crumble. Some employees fantasize about redesigning the spoon, maybe making it not hollow, maybe printing the words "This is not a straw" along the side in giant letters. But corporate insists customers love the design. They do not. Still, there's something charmingly chaotic about this tiny utensil that unites the world in collective misunderstanding. Every culture, every age group, every personality type, confused by the same inexplicable hollow rectangle, and yet you keep handing them out. You keep explaining. You keep holding the spoon up like a relic and saying, "Behold, not a straw, but a tool of frozen destiny." Because in the end, the McFlurry spoon is more than plastic. It is a mirror reflecting the eternal truth of fast food. People will always try to drink out of things that absolutely should not be drunk from. The clock ticks toward 10:30, and you can feel the tension rising. At 10:29, customers still order Egg McMuffins with hopeful smiles. At 10:30, those smiles turn into existential despair. The transition from breakfast to lunch is ruthless. Like a fast food Cinderella moment where omelettes turn back into burgers. You brace yourself as someone pleads, "It's only 1 minute past." But the system cares not for human suffering. From the moment you clock in, the countdown begins. Breakfast is a narrow window of opportunity, a golden age lasting precisely 4.5 hours. And as the end approaches, the restaurant becomes charged with a strange, electric energy. Customers wander in anxiously, glancing at the menu like students scanning exam questions. You can almost hear them thinking, "How much time do I have? Am I too late? Will they still give me hotcakes?" You watch the clock. It watches you back. Each passing minute is a warning, a harbinger. The fryer pops, the grill sizzles, and the egg rings sit on their trays like tiny edible hourglasses. By 10:25, the lines are full of people who swear they don't care what they get, but mysteriously, they all want breakfast. A mother orders 7 McGriddles with the frantic speed of someone buying concert tickets. A man in a suit stands perfectly still, but radiates the energy of a kettle about to boil. Teenagers sprint through the door in slow motion, as if they're trying to outrun fate. Your co-workers look tense. Someone whispers, "Get ready." Another mutters, "Brace yourselves." The grill team exchanges solemn nods. This is not just a menu transition. This is a reckoning. Then 10:29 arrives. The final minute. Time slows. You take the last breakfast orders carefully, reverently, as if handling diplomatic documents. People approach the counter with trembling hands. Am I still in time? Yes, you say, because it is still technically true. But then suddenly, 10:30. The second the clock hits that unforgiving number, the system locks. The menu board flickers. The POS beeps ominously. The breakfast buttons go grey, cold, lifeless. Lunch mode activates with the emotional subtlety of a drawbridge slamming shut, and that's when the chaos begins. A customer strolls up cheerfully. "Hi, can I get 2 Egg McMuffins?" You deliver the news with the compassion of a medieval priest. "I'm so sorry breakfast ended 1 minute ago." Their smile collapses. Their soul leaves their body. They blink at you in disbelief, whispering, "But I'm here now." Another customer overhears and gasps loudly, dropping a napkin like it's a Victorian fainting fan. Someone else approaches the counter, voice trembling. "Are you sure? Not even 1 hash brown?" You shake your head. The system does not allow mercy. Then comes the bargaining stage. But the grill is still hot. But the eggs are right there. But I'll pay extra. My dog's in the car. It's only 1 minute. You try to soothe them. "I know, I understand. I feel your pain in my spirit, but the computer will not budge." Your co-workers nod gravely. They too have suffered. Meanwhile, lunch items begin coming out at alarming speed, burgers materializing like they've been waiting backstage. Fries sizzle with new purpose. The kitchen transforms instantly from breakfast haven to lunchtime war machine. In the dining room, morning takes many forms. A man stares blankly at the digital menu as if it betrayed him personally. A woman sighs so deeply she seems to deflate. A teenager slumps against the straw dispenser, whispering, "I woke up early for nothing." But amidst the sorrow, something remarkable happens. Acceptance. Eventually customers move on, ordering McChickens, Quarter Pounders and fries. Life continues. The sun still rises. The smell of lunch fills the restaurant. And as you take a deep breath, wiping egg residue from your visor, you realize something profound. The breakfast cutoff isn't a punishment. It's a ritual. A reminder that time is fleeting, eggs are precious, and miracles like getting a McMuffin at 10:29 must never be taken for granted. Because at 10:30, the kingdom changes, and no one, not customers, not managers, not even you, can defy the will of the POS system. In the back room, employees operate an underground barter system based entirely on source packets. Ranch is high value. Sweet and sour is basically currency. Barbecue fluctuates depending on mood. You witness co-workers trading packets like medieval merchants swapping spices, and you realize you've entered a microeconomy where ketchup is worthless, but honey mustard can buy you favors that transcend the natural laws of the workplace. You never expected to work in a place with its own shadow economy, but here you are, standing in the fluorescent lit underbelly of McDonald's, watching 2 fry cooks negotiate the value of condiments with the intensity of Renaissance bankers. One opens a drawer like a smuggler revealing forbidden treasure. Inside, sauces, piles of them, glimmering little packets stacked in neat rows as if curated by an art dealer. Ranch is the crown jewel, Employees hoard it like dragons sitting atop a pile of creamy gold. If someone needs a shift covered, they'll slide 2 ranch packets across the table as a sweetener. If someone wants someone else to take out the trash, boom, 1 ranch packet. Need a co-worker to protect you from the wrath of an annoyed customer? That'll be 3 ranch, minimum. But the true powerhouse of the underground economy is sweet and sour. These little orange packets hold a mystical power, universally beloved, perpetually understocked, and doled out to customers with managerial scrutiny. Among employees, sweet and sour is the gold standard, a universal tender, a declaration of peace. You've seen co-workers wave one dramatically in the air during negotiations, like presenting an ancient treaty to end a decades-long conflict. Barbecue, on the other hand, is volatile. Its value rises and falls depending on employee cravings, stress levels, and inexplicable cosmic forces. On some days, it's worth almost nothing. On others, it suddenly becomes a bargaining chip capable of securing someone's entire break shift. No one understands why. No one questions it. It simply is. Honey mustard is the rare gem of the economy, hard to find, highly prized, and capable of swaying even the toughest employees. A single packet can secure cleaning help. 2 packets can secure a food swap. 3 packets, that can get someone to pretend they didn't see the McFlurry spoon you accidentally flung across the room. And then there's ketchup, poor, tragic ketchup. Cheap, abundant, unwanted. You could fill an entire shoebox with ketchup packets and still not be able to trade them for a single minute of mop duty. They're like the pennies of the sauce universe. Technically currency, but emotionally worthless. Employees toss ketchup around like confetti, knowing full well it holds no power here. The barter system becomes more complex the deeper you get into it. Employees keep secret stashes hidden behind stacks of fry boxes or tucked inside apron pockets like contraband. If a manager walks in, conversations shift instantly. What's the deal on tonight's closing tasks? Oh, we were just discussing napkins. But as soon as the manager leaves, negotiations resume with renewed intensity. You witness it all. 2 co-workers trading 4 ranches and a sweet and sour for someone's Friday shift. A newbie offering ketchup packets, only to be gently told, "We don't accept that here." A veteran employee revealing a hidden stash of honey mustard, with the dramatic flair of a magician unveiling a masterpiece. Someone attempting to trade tartar sauce and being laughed out of the room. Deals happen fast, agreements are made, alliances form, trust is established, betrayal is inevitable, like the time someone promised a packet of ranch for bathroom duty and then forgot to bring it. The fallout lasted a week. What fascinates you most is how natural it feels after a while. You begin to understand the unspoken exchange rates. You start carrying a few packets yourself just in case. A little sweet and sour in your pocket makes you feel powerful, secure, like a medieval merchant walking through a bustling market with a purse full of gold coins. Because here, in the chaotic world of fast food, money isn't the true currency. Sauce is. And once you've traded, bartered, loaned, and hoarded enough packets, you realize something profound. You're not just an employee, you're part of an economy. A secret, salty, tangy economy built on desperation, teamwork, and the eternal human desire to get out of cleaning the ice cream machine. So tonight, as you settle deeper into your blankets and let the day melt away, take a quiet moment to appreciate just how far you've come from the sizzling chaos of that 1955 McDonald's kitchen. You survived the fry station inferno, the ice cream machine heartbreak, the clown-based marketing strategies, and an entire corporate empire built on speed, salt, and stubborn determination. And somehow, you made it out without smelling permanently like fry oil. Because beneath all the absurdity we explored, the broken machines, the clown mascots, the nugget shapes that defy logic, were real people who worked impossibly hard to keep those golden arches glowing. Teenagers pulling night shifts, managers juggling chaos, cooks flipping thousands of patties with aching wrists and even a cheer patience. The world of McDonald's wasn't just a fast food chain. It was a tiny universe of human resilience, sweat, and the strange stubborn hope that tomorrow's lunch rush might be a little less loud. So as you rest tonight in your soft bed, with clean sheets and warm air, and not a single fry timer beeping at you, maybe whisper a small thank you to everyone who ever stood behind that counter. The ones who handled the customers, the spills, the grease burns, the corporate demands, and the beautiful, ridiculous machinery that kept an entire generation fed. Because history, yes, even fast food history, is a reminder that people are endlessly inventive, endlessly tired, and endlessly funny. And somehow, through the pressure, the noise, and the occasional rogue McNugget, they find a way to keep going. So breathe deeply, let the day drift away, and sleep well knowing you survived the dark side of McDonald's, and tomorrow, thankfully, nobody can make you clean the grill. Good night.